And with that, I'd like you all to please stand up and we can get through with our invocation led by the birthday girl. Is that okay? If you can lead us in prayer.
Dear Lord, guide us, protect us, illumine the lamp of our heart, and make us brilliant stars. Give us the courage, the love, and the wisdom to make the right decision for each and every resident of our Miami-Dade County. And we ask this in your name as we say, amen.
Amen. And if we can please have Commissioner Higgins, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, my friend?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please take your seats. Okay, good morning. So to my colleagues and to our special guests, thank you for being here, and also to the residents who have come to join us for today's meeting. Thank you all for making the time to come out here and have your voices heard. Now, before we begin, let me make one thing clear, okay? The sole purpose of this meeting is to listen to the community. There's going to be no action taken here today as it relates to fluoride. But what we're here for is to listen to the experts on the most up-to-date science regarding fluoride and its benefits and or risks to the health of our residents. In the interest of fairness and to our guest speakers and to my colleagues on the committee, and in an effort to respect their time, we will structure today's meeting in the following fashion. So Florida Surgeon General Dr. Joseph A. Ladapo will be able to go first. You will have 10 minutes to speak, sir. University of Florida Professor Dr. Ashley J. Mallon will have 15 minutes to speak. Dr. Claire Stagg will have 5 minutes to speak. And dentist Dr. Maya Azzi will have 5 minutes to speak, respectively, and present your findings. After all speakers have finished presenting, those of us on the committee will have 5 minutes each to make any comments if you wish to make comments and or ask questions. I will recognize each and every one of you. If somebody is here that's not part of the committee, you will also be recognized. To our guest speakers, please do not be offended if any one of my colleagues wishes to cut you off in an effort to maximize their 5 minutes. Please do not take it personal. They're just trying to maximize their time. To my colleagues, you will have only 5 minutes, so please use your time wisely. Should you find that you do not need the entire 5 minutes, you will be able to yield your time in favor of another colleague if you wish to do so, and you will be allotted the remaining time. Once all of my colleagues have had the opportunity to comment and ask questions, we will proceed with the reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard and the rest of our agenda. To my colleagues, are there any questions for how we're going to conduct the meeting today? Okay, so with that, to the Surgeon General, Dr. Ladapo, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thanks for inviting me and my colleagues here today to talk about this issue, an important health issue. We are surrounded by important health issues, and you just have to pick them one at a time and do the best you can with them. So I'm Dr. Joe Ladapo. I serve as a Surgeon General of the state. I'm also a professor at the University of Florida, and prior to my role here in Florida, I was a professor at UCLA, primarily seeing patients and doing research, leading clinical trials in weight loss and smoking cessation. And I still do some of that work with my current role as Surgeon General. So this is an issue, as I've shared before, this is an issue that's relatively new to me, and it's probably new to a lot of people who are now hearing more about it. Fortunately, we are also graced and blessed by the presence and the knowledge and the curiosity and the determination of other people for whom this is not a new issue. So I think all three of these wonderful ladies to my right have been in this area of research clinically and scientifically for years. And there are people in the audience also who have been in this area for years looking at this issue of water fluoridation. So I'm relatively new to the issue, and it's actually something that my wife has raised as a concern for years. We've got 3 little boys, and she's been concerned about it for years. And it's just something that I was unable to get a really good sense of scientifically. And so, I haven't been active in. However, as many people now know, about 6 months ago, there was a federal ruling. And this federal ruling was based on something called the National Toxicology Program and a report they did. This report examined the health effects of fluoride. And one of the interesting things about this report is that it was actually years old. So it was actually a report that the NIH or other officials at the Health and Human Services at the federal level, so the National Toxicology Program is part of the Department of Health and Human Services. It's something that had gone through multiple rounds of revisions and a lot of criticism. And it received this criticism because there was a lot of concern by health officials about the findings of this scientific review by the National Toxicology Program. And these findings were, very simply that there is substantial evidence for neurotoxic effects and other harms associated with fluoride, and also specifically with water fluoridation and the cumulative amount of fluoride that people are taking in. And this federal ruling essentially commanded the EPA to perform their regulatory duty and do something about the fact that there was a substance, fluoride, for which there is substantial evidence of neurotoxic effects, but that is being treated differently from other molecules and compounds that the that the EPA has identified to potentially be harmful. So this really grabbed my attention, and I realized I needed to look more closely at it. Fortunately, because I have a PhD, I have a lot of research experience, I still do research now, I was able to look more closely at the studies and get a sense. And I'll tell you, honest to the Lord, I was floored by what I found. And what I found was a litany of studies from all over the world, different countries, and finally, actually, some studies that were performed in the United States and Canada that showed very clearly a dose-response relationship between fluoride and neurotoxic harms. And the evidence is very strong. And I think it's important, sometimes when this discussion is cast, it's cast as something as being anti-fluoride. No one up here is anti-fluoride. I mean, fluoride is just another molecule. What we are anti is anti-adverse health effects in people and anti-making health calls or health policies that overall aren't benefiting people. That's what we're anti. There's no debate here over whether the fluoride that people put in their toothpaste or gargle with or you receive at the dentist's office is beneficial to teeth. It definitely strengthens teeth enamel. The debate here is whether it should be added to your water. And it shouldn't be. And not only do you have these neurotoxic effects, but there are other reasons. I mean, who are the populations most affected by this? They are our children and pregnant women. I mean, that's just one more reason why we should be more cautious. These are the most sensitive populations. Even looking at that more closely, what are the most sensitive populations? Babies who are drinking formula, because the amount of fluoride in breast milk is very, very little. And it's estimated that I think on average, babies who are drinking infant formula receive something like 70 times as much fluoride as a baby who's just being breastfed. So we have our most vulnerable populations. We have a substantial amount of research that shows that fluoride is neurotoxic, also that it's toxic to to the thyroid and other glands, but particularly the neurologic effects. And we have populations that are very vulnerable, that that we care about as a society, especially compared to other populations. And and another way to think about it too is that one of the concerns with water fluoridation is that it's uncontrolled dosage. So depending on how much water someone drinks, there's no telling how much fluoride they're receiving. So overall, this is a practice that, however it was born out of in the past, and whatever the purported benefits there are dentally, there are now clearly alternatives. Toothpaste is not expensive. I mean, there are people who argue that toothpaste may be difficult for some people to access. You can use the money that you are otherwise investing in water fluoridation to provide free toothpaste for anyone who's having difficulty paying for it. In addition, at the Department of Health, I mean, we care a lot about dental health, so we are actually investing in some new efforts to expand dental education, because that's a huge contributor. Right? The amount of sugar we consume, whether we brush our teeth, whether we are eating nutritious foods, vitamin D, things like that. Those are almost certainly in total much more important factors for the health of our teeth than adding fluoride to water. So just for so many reasons, it really is a policy that doesn't make sense. It's actually worse than that because it's harmful. And my sense is that as more people become familiar with the research, it's going to go away. I personally am convinced that this nation as a whole will stop water fluoridation sometime in the near future, because it truly just defies any type of sensibility to continue doing it with the available scientific evidence and the alternatives for dental health. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Surgeon General. And now we'll move to Dr. Mallon.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm just wondering how to see my slides. Yes.
Can we make sure her slides
Okay, perfect.
are up?
Thank you very much. Maybe should I stand? Okay, I'm going to stand so I can see. Thank you. Right. All right, thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege to be here today speaking before the commission. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Epidemiology at University of Florida, a licensed clinical psychologist, and I have been researching health effects of fluoride exposure for over 10 years now. So for today's, I'm going to present the research on this topic on fluoride exposure health and neurodevelopment. I don't have any conflicts of interest or disclosures related to the material in this presentation. So for today, I'm going to talk about what fluoride and fluoridation additives are, impacts of fluoride on health, including effects on the bones and pineal gland, which is a gland that's important for our sleep regulation, as well as the current state of the science on fluoride and neurodevelopment. And the current state of the science shows that chronic fluoride exposure in early life is associated with worse child neurodevelopment, even at US levels, so levels we commonly encounter in the United States. Fluoride is a mineral that naturally occurs in rock and soil, and it can leach into the drinking water from these things and then naturally occur that way. Community water fluoridation in the United States began in 1945 for preventing dental cavities. And the data from the CDC from 2022 shows that approximately 72% of the US population on community water systems was receiving fluoridated water at that time, although that prevalence is changing every day. The recommended concentration for fluoride in community drinking water is 0.7 milligrams per liter. It was previously a range of 0.7 to 1.2 milligrams per liter, but it was lowered in 2015 because so many children and adolescents had something called dental fluorosis. So dental fluorosis is an outward manifestation of excess fluoride exposure, meaning that when there's too much fluoride in the body during tooth development, it impacts how the teeth develop. And it can range from mild, with manifesting as white spots on the teeth, to more severe cases with this deep brown staining and pitting of the enamel. And the most recently released data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey showed that approximately 70% of children and adolescents in the United States had some form of dental fluorosis. So that's 70. And it's mostly mild cases, but it's there. So what is added to community drinking water is quite different than the naturally occurring fluoride in the environment. The NSF approves 3 chemicals for community fluoridation. These include fluorosilicic acid, sodium fluorosilicate, and sodium fluoride. And these are byproducts of phosphate fertilizer production. So research shows that fluoridation chemicals can be contaminated with other things, including metals, for example. So a study found that hydrofluorosilicic acid also contained arsenic, lead, and aluminum, and that sodium fluoride also contained barium and aluminum. Other research has shown that when fluoridation chemicals are combined with disinfecting agents like chlorine or chloramine, that they can cause lead from lead-bearing plumbing to leach into the community drinking water. So I would liken fluoridation chemicals more so to chemical mixtures that also contain fluoride. So of course, fluoride is beneficial for cavity prevention, especially when we apply it to our teeth. But when ingested, fluoride accumulates in our bones, teeth, and other calcium-containing organs and glands, including the pineal gland and the developing brain. Fluoride has quite complex effects on bone, so it's been shown to increase bone mineral density of certain types of bones, but also contribute to changes in bone quality that contribute to bone weakness and an increased risk of fracture. And we see this increased risk of fracture even at levels that we commonly encounter in the United States. As I said, fluoride accumulates highly in the pineal gland, which is a small gland located at the base of the brain. It produces melatonin, which is a hormone that regulates our sleep. And fluoride concentrations in the pineal gland are associated with something called pineal gland calcification, which is essentially a hardening of the pineal gland that's associated with sleep disturbances and neurological problems, including Alzheimer's disease, schizophrenia, pediatric primary brain tumor, and multiple sclerosis. So as I mentioned, fluoride can impact the developing brain, and there has been evidence of developmental neurotoxicity of fluoride in animal studies dating back 30 years. This study was published by Mullenix and colleagues in 1995, and it found that rats that were exposed to sodium fluoride in early development developed symptoms of ADHD. And this is the study that actually inspired my career early on in my graduate studies, not only because of the findings, but because Dr. Mullenix had been fired shortly after publishing them for going against the status quo at the time, and reportedly because it could have compromised the institutional funding for where she was at. And so after she was fired, nobody had really looked into this question for many, many years. And I decided to publish the first human study on this topic in 2015, and we examined prevalence of community fluoridation in relation to prevalence of ADHD in the United States. We found that parents reported higher rates of medically diagnosed ADHD in their children in states in which a greater proportion of people receive fluoridated water from public water supplies. So at this time, there were also studies in other countries that found that high concentrations of fluoride in drinking water were associated with lower child IQ, but we've only had the studies examining low exposures in relation to child IQ really in the last 8 years or so. And so these 2 studies were conducted in Mexico and Canada and found that they examined associations of prenatal fluoride exposure with child IQ. And they found that approximately each 1 milligram per liter increase in maternal urinary fluoride across pregnancy is associated with about a 4 to 5 point IQ reduction in the children. So the findings between both studies were pretty consistent. And there was a subsequent study published in Mexico City as well that found that higher prenatal fluoride exposure was associated with more symptoms of ADHD in the children, particularly in terms of difficulties with paying attention. And so one of the questions that arose following the publication of those two studies was whether those findings might be applicable to the United States, given that they were published in Canada and Mexico, and whether the fluoride exposures were comparable. And so I led a study that was published in 2023 that examined the fluoride concentration in the urine of pregnant women in Los Angeles, California. We found that the fluoride concentrations in their urine were very similar to those in the urine of the pregnant women in Mexico and Canada in the studies that I just described. Here are other studies published in North America that also found that higher prenatal fluoride exposure is associated with worse child neurodevelopment. I'm not going to go through each one, but we do have copies of them here if anyone would like to read them. One thing that's important to keep in mind is that across all of these studies, they use different methods to assess fluoride exposure. So some included assessment of fluoride in urine, some looked at fluoride in drinking water, and some looked at fluoride in food. And regardless of how fluoride was assessed, the findings are consistent across all of these studies in that higher prenatal fluoride exposure is associated with worse child neurodevelopment. Now, what about infant exposures? So this study looked at fluoride exposure from infant formula and child IQ in a Canadian birth cohort. It found that an increase of 0.5 milligrams per liter in water fluoride concentration in infancy, and with 0.5 being roughly the difference between a fluoridated and non-fluoridated community. And they found that that was associated with approximately a 9-point decrease in IQ among the formula-fed children and a 6-point decrease in IQ among the breastfed children. So a 9-point decrease in IQ, that's like a whole IQ category. That could really shift someone from being, in the average range to below average, or to above average to average. So it's a pretty sizable decrease. As Dr. Ladapo mentioned, the National Toxicology Program published their comprehensive systematic review on early life fluoride exposure and child neurodevelopment last August. It included all studies published by 2023. They identified 72 studies in total on fluoride and IQ. And of those 72, 64 found that higher fluoride was associated with lower child IQ. And when they restricted it to only the studies that they deemed high quality, they identified 19, and 18 of those found that higher fluoride was associated with lower child IQ. The report concluded that there is moderate confidence in the body of evidence that estimated fluoride exposure is inversely associated with IQ in children, and that this conclusion is relevant at a minimum to those living in areas where fluoride in drinking water is known to be at or above 1.5 milligrams per liter. They said that associations between drinking water fluoride levels below 1.5 and children's IQ remain unclear, so they weren't sure if levels below 1.5 could be contributing to brain damage in children. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. They didn't feel confident making a determination. But they said that it's plausible that pregnant women and children living in optimally fluoridated communities could have a total fluoride intake at or above the level of those living in a community with a water fluoride level of 1.5 milligrams per liter or higher, because there's individual differences in terms of how much water we drink, how much of the foods and beverages that are made with the tap water we consume, and tap water is not our only source of fluoride exposure. Interestingly, the NTP published an associated study, and it was a rigorous meta-analysis where they conducted a thorough, scientific mathematical investigation into the associations and the studies included in their report. And when they looked at urinary fluoride concentrations below 1.5 milligrams per liter, they found that those are consistently associated with lower child IQ. And so urinary fluoride is going to better capture our total fluoride intake. And this was when considering all studies or only the high quality ones. They also determined that a dose-response relationship between higher fluoride exposure and lower child IQ exists. So the more fluoride there is, the lower the child IQ is. The NTP report highlighted a need for more US-based studies on fluoride and neurodevelopment. I led the first one that was published last May, and we found that higher prenatal fluoride exposure is associated with more neurobehavioral problems among 3-year-old children in Los Angeles, California. So neurobehavioral problems including anxiety, temper tantrums, symptoms of autism, and headaches and stomach aches of no known medical origin. In particular, we found that pregnant women whose urinary fluoride levels were approximately 1.2 milligrams per liter, which again is less than 1.5, that they had children with nearly double the odds of exhibiting clinically relevant neurobehavioral problems by age 3 when compared with pregnant women whose urinary fluoride levels were approximately 0.5 milligrams per liter. So there are several mechanisms by which fluoride can exert a developmental neurotoxicity. It can readily cross the placenta and accumulate in brain regions implicated in learning, memory, mood, attention, and executive function. And we see these effects in animal studies at both high and low concentrations, as well as in human studies. Fluoride has been shown to alter cholinergic activity, which is a neurotransmitter that's important for our attention, our learning, and memory. It's also been shown to alter glutamate metabolism, which is a factor in anxiety disorders, and it can contribute to mitochondrial dysfunction as well as increase oxidative stress in our cells, which can both contribute to cellular damage and cellular death. And so these studies in humans that I presented are epidemiological studies where we're looking at associations between fluoride exposure and neurodevelopment. But there are several criteria that epidemiologists refer to when we're trying to determine if an association is causal, so whether fluoride exposure might be causing harm to the developing brain. And in the case of the literature on fluoride and neurodevelopment, most of these criteria are satisfied. We see strong magnitudes of association. There's consistency across studies. The exposures are measured before the outcomes. So the exposure to fluoride is measured in prenatal development or infancy, and the outcome is assessed in childhood. As I said, there's clear biological plausibility. A dose-response relationship has been established, and there's coherence across the whole literature. We have experimental evidence in animal studies, but it would not be ethical to conduct a randomized control trial in humans where we assign pregnant women to different levels of fluoride, given what we now know about its impacts on the developing brain. So as Dr. Ladapo mentioned, there's been a ruling in the federal fluoride trial.
Thank you, Dr. Mallon.
Can I keep going? I've got two minutes.
2 minutes? All right. Let's give her 2 more minutes.
Okay, I appreciate that. The ruling determined the court finds that fluoridation of water at 0.7 milligrams per liter, the level presently considered optimal in the United States, poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children, and that the scientific literature in the record provides a high level of certainty that a hazard is present and fluoride is associated with reduced IQ. So the ruling implies that there is not enough of a margin of safety between the hazard level and exposure level of fluoride in drinking water for dental cavity prevention. The EPA's default is for there to be at least a factor of 10 between the hazard level and exposure level of a chemical. And according to the EPA's default standard, the fluoride concentration in drinking water would need to be 0.15 milligrams per liter or lower to provide enough of a margin of safety to protect child IQ. Although if the hazard to child IQ exists at levels below 1.5 milligrams per liter, as we've seen in several of the studies I've presented today, then there would be no margin that would be safe for the developing brain. There would be no safe level of fluoride in community drinking water for the developing brain. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mallon. And Dr. Stagg, you have the floor, doctor.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very honored to be here. So my name is Dr. Claire Stagg, and as a mom and dental professional, I have been asked to share some facts showing that the widespread fluoridation of our water is more harmful than the average person is aware of. We dentists are the gatekeepers of your whole health, since the mouth is actually the beginning of your second brain, the gut. Unfortunately, with the advent of processed foods, poor diets, the increase in sugar consumption and environmental pollutants in the last century, we have witnessed a decay pandemic. And is this what has supposedly led to the poor decision for water fluoridation? Isn't it interesting that the main causes of decay that I have just cited are still not addressed and only the symptoms are band-aided? Sadly, the arguments presented by dental professionals concern the disastrous effects on children's dental health that would result if water fluoridation were to be stopped. However, these same children are literally bookended by the establishment, and that's where my mama bear comes out. 1, it doesn't provide adequate education on prevention via nutrition, breastfeeding that increases natural immunity, and inflammatory marker reduction that would prevent obesity and breathing disorders. Then 2, forcefully inserts an involuntary drug to attempt to fix a problem that they never tried to prevent in the first place. Not to forget that fluoride is being added in everything, with poison control warnings even on the tubes of toothpaste. No one uses the pea-size recommended amount labels on the tubes as opposed to the advertised captivating sparkly wad on the toothbrushes. Lawsuits are popping up everywhere in the industry. Fluoride can cause dental and bone diseases, disorders in the jaws and mouth, as well as in the brain. It has been shown to reduce the IQ in babies, basically dumbing them down. Your skin is one of the largest organs of your body. Therefore, you also absorb any chemicals added to the water that way every single shower. So I have some questions for you. If the benefits of fluoride are topical and the fetus has no teeth, why have a systemic approach as seen with a total water supply? If 47% of children still have tooth decay, and if decay is still a pandemic while the water is fluoridated, there must be other contributing factors, right? Why don't we do the math to check how much money is actually cost to prevent all the disorders and diseases long term as opposed to the cost of water fluoridation? For argument's sake, in poorer communities, you can't blame the children, their genes, or their teachers. These little ones are exposed to so many environmental contaminants that their little bodies are in toxic overload. More than likely, these babies are formula and bottle fed, made with fluoridated water that could be enough to put them over the edge. Remember, fluoride doesn't pass through breast milk. Shockingly, in Florida specifically, the majority of local water systems do not fluoridate. However, the minority of systems that do serve more than 70% of the state's population. The reduction of 5 points in IQ may not seem like a lot, but it actually represents an irreversible and massive shift of future adults who will be less capable of attending to their personal health care needs, emotionally and physically, as well as a massive increase in children and adults with special needs, thereby putting an unnecessary and unavoidable burden on all taxpayers. My next question is, why is America one of the few countries in the world that still continues to fluoridate their water? Another question, why is it so important to add an industrial byproduct to our drinking and bathing water? Please do your research. You can argue with us, but you cannot, I repeat, you cannot argue with the science, and the science is obvious. Another question, why aren't we given the freedom of choice? Fluoride is a toxic drug that is automatically put in the water without us being able to choose whether to ingest it or not. I encourage all Floridians to learn the facts and advocate for their own family's health. We're here meeting with you members of this council to help you understand that any water fluoridation is not in anyone's best interest. At least remove it for the children. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stagg. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Aziz, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. My name is Maya, Dr. Maya Georges Asi. I'm a dentist practicing in the state of Florida for the past 18 years. I'm also a mom of 3, and I'm very honored to be here in front of all of you today to share my insights on fluoride. I'm not going to go over the studies, but I'm going to hit 3 main topics which I want to drive home to every single person in here today. The first thing, if you're a patient at my office, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to sit with you and assess your risk for caries. This is what we're supposed to do. Based on our assessment, we then prescribe x-rays. We then prescribe what type of cleaning. We then prescribe any medications, if any, and we then prescribe any procedures. Why is it public health protocol to put this medication in the water without assessing risk from individual to individual? We know now that fluoride is a developmental neurotoxin. This is what this means. If my son, who's 5, drinks a glass of tap water, and I, who am an adult, drink a glass of tap water, we're going to get a different effect because we are in our different stages of development. So mass medication without risk assessment is not the correct public health policy. Furthermore, informed consent is very important. If you're gonna have a procedure done by me in my practice, I'm gonna go over the risks, the benefits, and the alternatives. I'm gonna give you the informed decision to make an informed consent to agree or disagree. Putting fluoride in our water does not give this to our citizens. This takes away our right for informed consent. The next thing I want to tell you is where this comes from. People will stand up here and tell you that a fluoride ion is a fluoride ion is a fluoride ion. This is incorrect. The fluoride that's being added to our water by municipalities is hydrofluorosilicic acid. This comes from smokestacks, scrubbers attached to smokestacks in industrial factories, which captures this contaminated fluoride and then is being shipped to our municipalities to be added to the water. I'm not okay with that. Neither should you. Also, did you know that the FDA has never actually approved hydrofluoric acid to be ingested? Look it up. Fluoride is not essential to the human body in any way, shape, or form. Yes, it's a naturally occurring mineral, but it's not efficient. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no such thing as a fluoride deficiency. That does not exist at all. Actually, the root cause, like my colleague discussed, is the lack of nutritional concepts, the lack of breastfeeding, which is causing us to form jaws that are crowded, mouth breathing because our jaws are crowded and misaligned. This is the root cause. The root cause is not fluoride deficiency, and it never will be fluoride deficiency. You will not see an increase in cavities when we remove fluoride from the drinking water. Lastly, I want to tell you this. We should not be the ones having the burden of proof to remove fluoride. The burden of proof should be on those who advocate. There have never been any double-blind randomized studies assessing the long-term effectiveness of fluoride in the drinking water. Look it up. When it comes to public health, we must follow precautionary principles, which does not say you act in the absence of evidence. It says you act in the presence of concerning evidence. And that's what we're here to urge you to do today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, doctor, and thank you all of you doctors for your testimony today. And now I'll go to my colleagues, and we can let's begin with the commissioner in the 3rd District, Mr. Hardiman, if you'd like to address, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, or good afternoon, rather. We're almost there. Does the state have the authority to preclude or require that municipalities or local governments remove fluoride from its water?
So currently, the state has a statute related to fluoridation, and that is partly administered by the Department of Health. Part of that statute is in, I believe, rulemaking, so we're making some adjustments to that. And in terms of that ability right now, again, it doesn't currently exist. I'm sure you're aware of the agriculture bill by Commissioner Wilton Simpson that plans to eliminate the addition of fluoride from water because it's not provided for the quality of the water. It's provided presumably to treat the population.
I've never represented anyone in the state of Florida, but as I understand, the Republicans greatly outnumber Democrats and typically get their way. Do you anticipate that this bill, this measure will pass and that we will be precluded from even weighing in on whether or not we can have water with fluoride?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll say that, the short answer is I don't know. I'll add that I'm an independent. I'm actually not a Republican or a Democrat. So I don't keep close tabs on sort of who's a Republican and what the counts are. But currently, yes. I mean, in the House and the Senate in Florida, Republicans outnumber Democrats for whatever that means. I think that obviously, if it becomes state statute, then there would be a preemption of what communities want to do. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm here I'm the Surgeon General because I'm a doctor and I like science and I like health policy. I'm not into politics. But as a scientist, and someone with background and expertise in health policy, I mean, I understand the issues you're saying, but I think it's very important to look at the facts here. Like, this is not in the interests of people. This is not in the interests of children. It's not in the interest of pregnant women. It's not in the interest of our community. Whatever colors you are, red or blue or something in between, that is what's most important. I understand the casting is a potentially political issue, but I don't care. I mean, if Democrats supported this, I'd be standing right next to them. If Republicans supported this, I'd be right there. Independents, I'd be right there because this is the correct position for health for this issue.
All right. Are there other individuals who would advocate for a different position that you have? Because I mean, I've seen studies where they indicate one thing, and then in the contrary, you have other studies that indicate another in a number of different categories.
Absolutely.
And so, is there other information that will be available to people that will be, say, in the contrary of the things that you've described on the record today?
Right. So, I mean, there are going to be studies that you can find. And what I would say is that you've got, my colleagues here mentioned the National Toxicology Program. This is part of the Department of Health and Human Services, and their report on this preceded the Trump administration. I mean, it's years old. And this is a compilation of all the available evidence at the time that they published it. And as my colleagues shared, in this compilation, they found that the more fluoride that children and pregnant moms are exposed to, the worse the neurologic effects, the worse the neurotoxicity. So you can find other studies, but there also is this review that's been published that's, I think is nonpartisan. If anything, the partisanship probably leans to the left than to the right if you were to look at the political affiliations of the involved scientists. And that's what they found.
Yeah, I'm not one of those who's greatly concerned with partisanship. I've never acted in a partisanship body. I have great friends who are on both sides of the aisles, and even the third, if you will, because like you put it, you're an independent. But So I'm not really concerned about that. But what I am concerned about is how we give information to a general population of people who don't understand science whatsoever. So, for instance, in the moment you've described a compilation, right? So what that means to me then that there are a number of different studies that were organized in a number of different ways that may not be consistent in how you would compare them, but you find whatever best information that you can from it. And so you present that, as a way of showing what your points are. What gives me just a little bit of a pause, if you will, is that because I used to work in the industry in pharmaceutical sales, right? So I represented a number of different products from a very well-known firm that you would all agree is a leader in the industry. And in that job, of course, we would present studies, right? So I understand double-blind placebo tests. I understand package inserts. I understand how to read them. I understand the basic premise of how you find this information and find it useful to present to doctors. That's who I presented to. And so doctors had great questions. And then, of course, once I've answered their question, they've also had their clinical practice that they could lean on and say, well, this is what I found with this. We do know that, for instance, with these sort of studies, with certain medications, you would find that you would have doctors that were prescribed medication for reasons that were not even indicated on the medication because they found them to be effective in different ways. So we find that there's a lot of ways that we can use information in order to present your point. In that position, right, I would always pull something out of the study. Even if it was one study, I could present the same study for 6 months if I wanted to, because there's so much information that's included in them. And so, once again, but I'm presenting the information to someone who is really a professional and who knows this information and who can best test it. When I get one-sided information, or a group of people get one-sided information without contrary evidence, it makes it very difficult for me to assess whether or not this is true. So you can tell me, look it up. And it's a very easy thing to say, but I would never tell my judges to look it up. Judges, for instance, that are sitting here before me, they would expect me to give them any negative citations that is possible when I'm making an argument, because they want to know whether or not I'm giving them the best information. And I'll say this to you. If I were not to do that, they would not have a very high regard for me as an attorney. And so I really and truly appreciate the information. But what means most to me is if you give me the studies to the contrary, not just a citation necessarily to the past, that means that this is how we used to do it, and this is how we are. And I'll tell you this, I'm in government, but I don't trust government. Let me finish.
Oh, sorry.
I'm in government, but I don't trust government. I know that the government lies to us. The least of us are punished for it, right? The least of us in the smallest positions in government are punished for it. But those who are at the highest ranks, they are not punished for it. It is a way of doing things. It is to preserve the democracy, as they would put it. It happens. I know it happens, right? And so what I'm asking for at the bottom of the totem pole that I am is just perfect information so we can make informed decisions. Thank you.
And I'm going to let Dr. Mallon respond. I just feel compelled to say something, which is that, yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of dishonest people in government and outside of government. It's definitely an issue. Just to clarify, that's not going to happen with me. Anyone who looks at my history over the last 4 years, when I was at UCLA and since I've been at this position, it should be abundantly clear that that I'm not doing anything for reasons of sort of favorability or anything else other than believing that what I think is correct is actually correct. But Dr. Mallon.
Thank you. So I'll just say I don't work for the government, and I hear you. And I'm happy to discuss the other side of the studies. The NTP report showed that 100% of the studies do not show that there is an association of higher fluoride exposure with lower child IQ. Out of the 72, there were 8 studies that did not observe that association. most of them were null, meaning they didn't find an association at all. It was not significant. And then there was one that found a positive association, that higher fluoride exposure was associated with an IQ increase of like 15 points, which was an anomaly not only in the fluoride and IQ literature, but the IQ literature in and of itself. Imagine if something could increase our IQ by 15 points. That would be pretty awesome. So it's not 100% of the studies. If you look at all the studies, it's about 89%. And then when they restricted it to only the high quality studies, it was about 95% of the studies. So there are certainly some inconsistencies there. That's what the NTP report found.
Do you have any other questions, Commissioner? Now to my good friend Marlene Bastian. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for organizing this presentation this afternoon. My thoughts are in the same line as my colleague, Commissioner Hardeman, because as I sat down listening, and I'm realizing that the results that you are sharing are from one side, right? I'm very blessed to have a very dynamic and bright young leaders on my staff, and then they poured into the subject, yesterday, and then I have tons of research, a lot of papers, presenting a completely different view of what you presented this afternoon, such as that concern about the potential harm of fluoride, is really minimal based on the level. All right, that many reviews have found that the levels used in water fluoridation is not or does not have a negative impact. This is based on a wealth of research that they did. That there are examples after examples where fluoride was removed from water supplies, and then they have to reverse it because of the negative impact on the health of the constituents, such as researches that from Canada stopping the use of fluoride in 2011 because it led to more dental decay, for example. Portland and Santa Cruz, different places in the U.S. that stopped it and had to revert back to using it because of the consequences. I see that you're shaking your heads, but you presented your facts, but these are facts that are resulted from research that is out there that was presented today, right? Even the research that our dear Surgeon General, presented, this one, right? The fluoride exposure, neurodevelopment, and cognition. It states right here that more research is needed to better understand if there are health risks associated with low fluoride exposures. So you see, my concerns are that you are presenting one side, right? And what I would have liked, and I don't know if Commissioner agrees, is to have another group presenting another side for folks to make an informed decision. Because overwhelmingly, the research that my staff, and I believe in my staff, they are very smart, overwhelmingly shows that low level of fluoride in our water is not bad for our health. It's not bad for our health. So I'm looking forward to, we don't have to make any decision today. We are not scientists, we are policymakers. You just came to make a presentation, which we thank you for. I'm looking forward to continuous engagement, and then I really, really would like to hear the other side of the stories. I really would like to hear about what we do here in Miami-Dade County. So thank you again.
Would you folks like to respond?
Yeah, I would like to respond. I appreciate your comment, and I did mention that in the presentation, that the NTP report did say that the levels below 1.5 were unclear. However, the studies conducted in North America, they include pregnant women with typical fluoride exposure levels for fluoridated communities in the US and Canada. So these are relatively low levels, and there are now approximately 10 well-conducted studies with relatively low levels that do show an association of higher prenatal fluoride exposure with worse child neurodevelopment. So, like I said, I also led a study in the US that was published after the NTP report, after their literature cutoff date, so it was not included in their report. I don't know if that would have made a difference, but certainly fair to hear the other side. And I would like to see the study that you're referring to now as well. I'm not sure which one you have there, so yes, I'm happy to further discuss, and yeah.
Dr. Rezai, would you like to be recognized?
Yes, please. It's very interesting just to know which study you're referring as far as the removing of fluoride and then the adding back in. We have some studies here, especially if you're referring to the Calgary study in Canada. Yes. So if you take a look at the entire graph and you look at the direction that the cavities rate is increasing on the graph, you will see that it continues consistently throughout, from before water fluoridation and after water fluoridation. So what you want to look for when you're reading the research is what should have happened is a severe increase in caries risk after the fluoride was removed. And the Calgary study does not show that if you really take a deep dive into the study. Also, there are other studies that you should please look at as far as effectiveness. What is the effectiveness of adding the fluoride to the water? And some studies, especially the Cochrane group, saw that the benefit was 1/4 of 1 tooth. On a significance value, that's less than 2%. So I definitely agree with you on looking at the other side, but when you do, also look at the effectiveness of adding fluoride to the water, and you'll find some very interesting research where that's concerned.
Told me that you'd like me to look at, to listen to the other side, and you're trying to convince me, and I think that probably my colleague could organize another group.
Yes, I agree.
We are not scientists.
Yes.
We are policymakers. We are not scientists. What I would like to see is
And
to
I
have a
think
panel.
Definitely, that's the right thing to do, for
this
sure.
this is a non-partisan body here.
Absolutely.
So we'd like to have the choice to listen to other scientists as well. And I don't think we should continue to go back and forth, back and forth. You made your presentation, and I don't think there's a need to go back and forth. But what I'd like to say, I'm more concerned about other ingredients, like, for example, PFAS, for example, where the results are clear that once they enter your body, the impact is negative. I would rather we invest our research, our resources to fund research to support policies to make sure that we address these, other problems. But low level of fluoride, I hope that we can hear our administration today about what they are doing to make sure that our water is safe. And I believe that our water is safe. I drink it. I'm okay. I think we all drink it. We're okay. But thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for the presentation.
Dr. Stagg, did you want to say something?
Yes, actually, I think that one of the things that you have to understand is that three of us here are dentists, and we were trained that way to believe that fluoride was good. And as moms, we've been through that journey, we've been through that war, we've been through that battle, and it's not a battle, it's not something that we want to fight for. But one thing that we do want to fight for is freedom of choice. And I think that it is wrong to put a drug in a water that you do not have a choice from, when you can actually decide if you want to put it on in your toothpaste. The other thing too is they're putting it in foods, they're putting it in salt, they're putting it in everything. Where's the freedom of choice there? And the studies are pretty clear. A lot of the research that you're going to find is going to be pushing it through the American Dental Association, probably. Follow the money. Follow the money. They get endorsements, they get their money from that, and I'm sorry, I am a American Dental Association member because it is my professional association, but follow the money. Always follow the money.
Thank you,
Your
Dr.
children are
Stagg.
at risk.
Thank you, Dr. Stagg. And with that, I'm going to recognize committee members first, but then I'll come back to non-committee members. So Commissioner Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Interesting discussion, particularly since the words freedom of choice have been brought up, since, as we now know in the state of Florida, women have no freedom of choice. I don't have any comments at this time. I, like my colleague, Commissioner Bastian, drink our water all the time, every day. Love it, and I appear to be fine. I've been drinking fluorinated water my whole life, as has as basically everyone I know. I only know one person that didn't get access to good fluoride, which was my dad, and he's had major issues with his teeth, bearing in mind that he grew up as an orphan without access to health insurance and dental insurance and dental care. So that's all I have to say. Mr. Chair, I realize this is just a discussion item, but we do have, the president of the Florida Bar, and I think
Oh, yes, we have
half
great,
of the
we have
judges.
great distinguished guests.
So
We have
it
great
might,
distinguished guests, and
yeah,
I'm honored.
it would be nice
to
to
have.
move on to actual business of the county.
Absolutely, Commissioner Higgins. When you have a committee and you're chairing it, you will be able to make that decision. And I thank so many of such great people that are here today. I can't wait to recognize you. Now, to recognize Commissioner Raquel Regalado.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First and foremost, I'm here as a chair of infrastructure, so thank you for having these conversations. Listen, whenever we talk about water and water quality, I'm interested. I want to thank you, Commissioner Bastian, for mentioning PFABs. That is my love language, so I love that. I just want to be clear that these are conversations that do happen internally, and Water and Sewer does keep a close eye on all of the research. We talk about everything that we put into our water, whether we're cleaning our wastewater or what we add to the water that we provide our residents. So I appreciate every discourse, and all the information, and I think it's an ongoing conversation. But like my colleagues, I just want everyone to have clarity on the quality of Miami-Dade County water and the time and the effort that we put into ensuring that it meets not just the state and federal requirements, but far exceeds that. And we have a tremendous staff that works on that, and we're happy to work on that at infrastructure. And any conversation over infrastructure and regarding our water and water system is always welcome. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cabrera.
Thank you, Chairman Gonzalez, and I'm chair of the airport. If we could make fluoride work for elevators and escalators and moving walkways, I'd be really excited. But in all seriousness, it's obviously an important conversation to have regarding the health of our children, of our families, and I appreciate Surgeon General Ladapo coming down here and the rest of the panel for taking your time and providing this information. It's definitely helpful to us policymakers as we legislate and move forward regarding the business of Miami-Dade County and the safety of our residents. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And my question is, I have a question for Dr. Ladapo. Is there a distinction between the ingestion of fluoridated water and the topical application of fluoridation in toothpaste? Like, in other words, in addition to removing fluoride from water, are you folks asking to remove fluoride from toothpaste?
No, we're not asking people to take fluoride out of toothpaste. It's really just this systemic dosing of fluoride that we're focused on, which happens through water.
Got it. And, some have made claim that fluoridated water is a forced medication. So as a physician, what is required of you prior to providing a patient medical treatment?
You have to be in a patient-doctor relationship, and you have to be able to provide informed consent, as my colleague shared. I mean, that is an ethical duty for a physician, and you don't need to be a scientist to understand that. So that's a critical part of the physician-patient relationship.
And to Dr. Mallon, many proponents of fluoridated water make the claim that fluoride is naturally occurring, and I think I heard you mention that. Is there a difference between the fluoride that's naturally occurring and the fluoride that's added at the water treatment plant?
Yes, so as I mentioned, you're correct, fluoride does naturally occur, but that is not what's being added into the drinking water for community fluoridation. The chemicals are byproducts of phosphate fertilizer production. So these are industrial chemicals.
Can a human being be allergic to fluoride?
That's a good question. So I've gotten emails from people saying that they have allergic reactions or have rashes and things from washing their face in the tap water or showering in it. I'm not aware of studies that have thoroughly investigated that. The ATSDR, Agents for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, they have also reported cases, like case studies, of people who have reported allergic reactions, but they did not report any research on that. So I think more research is needed.
To Dr. Stagg, in your dental practice, have you noticed a difference in the dental health of patients living in fluoridated communities versus those living in unfluoridated communities?
To be honest, no. All my patients that come see me specifically come to see me because I don't do fluoride. Can I interject about the allergic reactions? A lot of women, though, who have been exposed to fluoride have thyroid issues, hypothyroidism, as well as thyroid glandular cancers and or loss of thyroid function, because fluoride competes with the glands in the thyroid, fluorides and chlorides.
So somebody with that type of issue, how do they? So for example, if the water's fluoridated, if somebody has an issue like that, what do they do?
They're on drugs, thyroid aid, hormone replacements.
Is there a way to take the fluoride out at home?
Well, unfortunately, many people can't afford filters. Reverse osmosis maybe, but who gets the most fluoride? Those who can't afford the filters.
Got it. To Dr. Azai, should the county decide to remove fluoride from its water supply, what alternatives are available to individuals who do want fluoride, who want the fluoride for themselves? Are there dental products and or supplements that are readily available for folks?
There are many fluoride products that are available for topical use. And in 1999, the CDC actually deemed that the topical use of fluoride was much more effective than the ingestion of fluoride. And therefore, if anybody remains wanting to have fluoride, they'll have easy access to fluoride toothpaste, to fluoride rinses. And then, we should start then talking to patients about We should now start talking to patients about proper nutrition. Cavities are nearly 100% preventable disease. But yes, they would continue to have access to fluoride should they wish to have it.
And my final question is again for Surgeon General Ladapo. My biggest concern is with folks in underprivileged positions. If they can't afford toothpaste, for example, is there anything that the state, I guess, provides for anybody that needs to get fluoride?
Yeah, the state does have dental clinics throughout the state that where people who have less income can receive dental care. Specifically in terms of toothpaste, I'm not certain whether that's provided, but that's something that we would be happy to explore providing.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for your time. And to my colleagues, I want to thank you for your questions and for engaging. Again, this is not a political issue. As a matter of fact, we talked about this on the county commission before I was here in 2014. It was brought forward by Commissioner Dennis Moss, who was a very respectable Democrat. But thank you so much for your time. If we can get 2 minutes just to rearrange the room, and then we will begin with our reasonable opportunity to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
just in order to save time, I know there's a lot of people here that want to speak on the public hearing item. So I'll entertain a motion to move the agenda, and if we can move the agenda. Thank you. So moved by Commissioner Higgins.
Chair?
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, is this a motion to set the agenda?
Yes. Motion to set the agenda? Can we call the roll?
Commissioner Bastian? Here.
Okay.
Commissioner Hardeman? Commissioner Higgins? Chairman Gonzalez?
Here. So we have a motion by Commissioner Higgins to set the agenda. We have a second by Commissioner Hardeman. All in favor signify by saying aye. So moved. And now, Madam Attorney, would it be proper to take up the public hearing item at this time?
Mr. Chair, if you would like to take up your public hearing items first and open public hearing, yes.
Absolutely. So let's do so. Let's open public hearing, please.
May I read the items?
Yes, please.
The items for public hearing today are 1G1, an ordinance relating to the Public Health Trust, approving staggered tenure expiration dates of certain trustees, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date. Item 1G2, an ordinance relating to the Public Health Trust, amending sections 25A4 and 25A5 of the Code of Miami-Dade County, modifying policies and directives regarding compliance, making technical revisions, modifying threshold amount for compliance with certain contracts, modifying classified service exemptions, modifying private donation limits for certain construction projects, modifying internal audit reporting intervals, modifying location of budget hearings, modifying certain operational statistics reporting intervals, modifying deadlines, special meeting, and delivery requirements for audited financial reporting, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. And item 1G3, a resolution directing the county mayor or county mayor's designee to establish and implement in coordination with the chief judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit a process for the naming of individual courtrooms within the Miami-Dade Justice Center. Those are your public hearing items.
Okay, so I do have speaker cards. And when you hear your name, if you can please come up, and you will have 1 minute to speak. So first we have Mr. David Lawrence.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I came to Miami in 1989, 36 years ago. The person who helped me more than anyone else to understand this community. So you got to say your name and address. I'm supposed to tell my name and address. My name is David Lawrence Jr. I live in Coral Gables. Do you need a more specific address than that?
Yes, sir. I believe you need to give your address for the record, sir.
2800 Toledo Street, number 2 in Coral Gables, 33134.
Thank you, sir. Please.
Now can my 2 minutes start, or 1
Yes,
minute,
sir.
or
You're-
whatever it is? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I came here 36 years ago. I had a lot to learn. I came from Detroit to be publisher of the Miami Herald. The person who helped me more than anyone else in this community to understand the gifts of this community, the understandings of this community, the misunderstandings of this community was Osvaldo Soto, who was head of the Spanish-American League Against Discrimination. I admired him, I loved him, I thought he set the best kind of example, and a few years later, 4 years later, I wrote a column about him, which I think you have a copy. In that column, I talked about he worked long hours on behalf of racial and ethnic harmony, probably doing more lawyering for free than for pay. And I'm going to give you 2 sentences. The most important thing I have in my life is my children, and I want my children to be proud of that name. I think we're all God's children. I think we're all Osvaldo Soto's children. And I think the naming of the courthouse would celebrate, honor, and give us all an example of a especially great Miamian and American. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence. If we can please have Catherine Fernandez Rondo and Carlos J. Martinez on deck. Madam State Attorney.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and all the committee members. I was kind of misled. I was told we were going to have 2 minutes, and then someone's going to give me their 2 minutes. So I have a prepared statement that's about 3.5 minutes. May I proceed?
Absolutely, you can, State Attorney. If you could just give your name and your address for the record, please.
I'm Catherine Fernandez Rondo, the Miami-Dade County State Attorney. Address is 1250. It's excluded. It is. Okay.
You're exempt.
Thank you. As long as I'm not excluded, okay? Harvey Rubin and Osvaldo Soto were two distinguished individuals who contributed a great deal throughout their lives to our Miami-Dade community. Think of the moment and the era that they journeyed through, a time when there were actual signs in this community that said no Jews, no blacks, no Cubans, no dogs. Both of these men spent their lives advocating and fighting for unity. It is my belief that each of them should be celebrated in a very distinct way that complements their very different and distinctive achievements. I knew both of these men well. They were good friends of my father, and later times they were good friends to me as well. My father, the first Hispanic Cuban judge in this community, was like a brother to Osvaldo Soto, dating back to his law school days in Havana. In fact, he was with Osvaldo the very day that he passed away. The new civil courthouse, in my mind, should be dedicated to Osvaldo Soto for many, many reasons, including his advocacy for all minorities. Knowing Osvaldo, as we all knew him, he was a man of unity and a man that bridged communities. He fought against inequality and discrimination in any form and anywhere, including in our courthouses. The Osvaldo Soto we all knew was a man who fought for everyone, believing in fairness and access to the legal system. His advocacy against English only and establishing the Spanish-American League Against Discrimination were prime examples of his efforts to give everyone access to a justice system and not just those that spoke one language. The founders of CABA, my father and many others, created a support system to show solidarity, to gain recognition and acceptance. Today, it is hard to imagine a time in our legal history when Spanish-speaking lawyers with accents felt shunned by others. That time was not so long ago. CABA grew as our legal community did, but there were other lawyers that felt that they were still outside of CABA. And one example of many examples is Osvaldo's devotion to inclusivity that I can share is one that when I ran for President CABA, I ran on a platform to open it up to everyone. It was not a popular idea at the time, but there were many Puerto Rican, Colombian, Anglo, Black, Bahamian lawyers and others that wanted to be part of CABA. And that was a testament to the strength CABA had become, but also it was the strength of their ability to be inclusive and embracing other non-Hispanics. Watching Osvaldo was a gift that I will forever treasure. He was a man that was exiled from his life in Cuba, who was part of the fight of the Bay of Pigs, became a professor of law, wrote 5 legal books, and was still fighting to uplift other lawyers. He uplifted many lawyers who were struggling to become accepted and respected. He recognized the many contributions of Black, Haitian, and other lawyers as well. There are so many lawyers that are here today and many that are not here today, and who are also jurists, many of whom aren't here today. And they're here because of his contributions and advocacy. That is why I believe the new civil courthouse should be dedicated to Osvaldo Soto. It honors him, but it also honors all the others who stand on Osvaldo's shoulders as a pioneer who paved the way and made it smoother for the rest of us and others and subsequent generations to thrive. His daughter, Judge Bertila Soto, is the first Hispanic, the first Cuban, the first woman chief judge of this court. She stands on his shoulders. Osvaldo helped me get elected, not just as the first female of CABA, followed by many greater women than I, but later as your state attorney, the first female Hispanic Cuban. I, too, stand on his shoulders with many others. Osvaldo Soto was constantly on Spanish language radio, advocating for me and many others who became judges and other elected officials in this great community. My story is just one small story in a large landscape of this community. There are so many others that could stand before you today and tell you of their successes, in large part because of his contributions and his advocacy. I want to also point out that that includes judges in our county and circuit courts, our district courts, our Florida Supreme Court, federal judges, countless lawyers of all ethnicities, colors, and cultures. They're all part of our legal system seeking justice. With respect to great Harvey Rubin, I think he too deserves his legacy to be recognized. Harvey Rubin, as I told his beautiful widow recently, was a dear friend to so many of us. He was a mayor, a county commissioner, clerk of the court, clerk of this great body, the county commission, and a great environmentalist. There are other county courthouses in Miami Beach, for instance, and Northeast Dade that could be dedicated to him. Or he could also be honored by naming all the clerk's offices in all the courthouses in his name. I know that Osvaldo would like them to complement each other and not to be in competition with each other. Thank you all so very much for giving me some extra time.
Thank you. Okay. Carlos Martinez with Christopher Perales on deck.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. I come to you, and I'm not going to give you a big speech. The state attorney actually did a wonderful job laying out the reality of Osvaldo and the reality of Harvey Rubin. I come to you as someone who actually worked and volunteered with Osvaldo Soto when I was a very young attorney, and he wanted people to help in the Spanish League Against Discrimination. He had the utmost integrity. What I'm going to tell you is an anecdote of something that happened. I was an assistant public defender in the office, and I was volunteering, and I went one night to his office when we're having a Spanish American League Against Discrimination meeting. And he was always looking for volunteer attorneys to help. There was really no income that the Spanish League Against Discrimination had to be able to help individuals. And he kept taking complaint after complaint after complaint in his office, taking away from his job of being an attorney and making money for his family. And
thank you, Christopher. Carlos, would you please give us,
less than a minute.
Can you please give your name and address for the record?
Sure. Carlos Martinez, Miami-Dade public defender, and my address is 1320 Northwest 14th Street, Miami, Florida, 33125. That's my office.
Thank you. And please finish your thought quickly.
Sure. And Osvaldo asked me to help shrimpers in Miami-Dade County, hardworking people who had no money to hire an attorney, but they were being prosecuted by the Fish and Wildlife Commission for them getting shrimp on the bay and in different parts. He did not know how to help them, so he actually sent me to the University of Miami library because he said, you cannot use your office resources to help these people, and that's why I said integrity. And he was the people's lawyer, and I really hope that you all name the courthouse after our champion, Osvaldo Soto.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Now, Christopher Perales, name and address for the record. And we have Judge Jose Rodriguez on deck.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Christopher Pinellas, address 151 Southeast 1st Street, City of Miami, Florida. I'm going to keep my remarks brief and touch on Mr. Soto's legacy on a personal matter. You will hear from many speakers today about Mr. Soto's efforts in our community, his efforts to repeal the English-only ordinance in which he worked with my father to repeal that absurd law when he sat on this very body. But I did want to speak on a personal matter and Mr. Osvaldo Soto's legacy and how it's impacted my life. Not only was Mr. Soto a trailblazer in the Cuban-American, as a Cuban-American attorney and paved the way for me and many others today, but because of Mr. Soto's commitment to justice and fairness, I am able to stand before you today. My grandfather, in 1959 in Cuba, was arrested by the Castro regime and sentenced to death by firing squad. Mr. Soto came to his aid and represented him, and he was granted the last writ of habeas corpus in Cuba and was able to escape because of Mr. Soto's efforts. On behalf of myself and my family, I respectfully request that this body name the new courthouse after Mr. Soto. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, folks, we're not supposed to clap inside of the dais, but given that we have such honorable and distinctive people present, Oliver likes to say, do this. It's weird, but do this, I guess. So, Judge Rodriguez.
Good afternoon.
I've actually been in front of you, so this is really cool for me.
Did I rule against you?
No, sir, you did not.
Do the same.
Give this man 5 minutes.
My name is Jose M. Rodriguez. My address is 6711 North Kendall Drive. And I am the oldest serving judge in this circuit. I've been serving this community for 30
We could clap for that.
For 31 years. I'm also almost as old as another judge, but he's older than I am. I'm 72 years old. I met Osvaldo when I started practicing law in 1981, and I served with him in the Cuban American Bar Association Board of Directors. I agree wholeheartedly with the remarks of our state attorney. She was there as the president of CABA. We changed the framework of CABA. We let everybody join, and Osvaldo was the leader in that project. And we opened up that time, and it's still open. And I'm going to be 12 seconds left. All I'm going to say is as follows. I wouldn't be here if it were not for Osvaldo Soto. And I think he's given so much to this community. I think it's time for the community to give something back.
Thank you so much, Judge. Dwayne Robinson. And we're going to have Luis Suarez on deck, please. Name and address for the record, sir.
Dwayne Robinson, 2525 Ponce de Leon Boulevard, Coral Gables. Good morning, commissioners, Commissioner Hardiman, Commissioner Bastian, and everyone present. Thank you for your time. I appear today not only in my personal capacity, but as president of the Wilkie D. Ferguson Junior Bar Association. We're the historic and largest association of black lawyers and judges in Miami-Dade County. Our association has voted unanimously to support the renaming of the new courthouse to the name of Osvaldo Soto. I'm grateful for the work that he's done in this community as far as diversity and opening up the community for all people. I've been a proud member of CABA for 10 years due to the leadership and work of Mr. Soto. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Luis Suarez, Andres Raul Lopez, and George Luis Lopez. Going once, going twice. Judge Beatriz Pacheco Sanchez. And we're going to have Judge Britilla Soto on deck, please.
Yeah, we started at the state attorney's office in 1989 on the same day, and here we are.
Awesome. Can I please have name and address for the record, please?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Beatriz Butchko Sanchez, and I've been proudly serving this community as a circuit court judge for 20 years. I'm here today delivering these remarks on behalf of my colleague, the Honorable Gina Beovides, who in a few moments you'll know why she's not here. We live in a nation where the rule of law is the foundation of our democracy, a country where disputes are resolved in a court of law and where justice serves as a guiding principle of our society. It is only fitting, then, that the name of our new civil courthouse reflects these very ideals. And there is no greater example of someone who used the law to advance the best interest of our community than Osvaldo Soto. Before I continue, I want to express my sincere regret for not being able to deliver this message in person. As Dean of the Florida Judicial College, I am currently engaged in the second phase of judicial education, a responsibility I take seriously as it ensures that our judges are well prepared to uphold the very principles we are here to honor today. Osvaldo's impact is not just something I've read about, it is something I've witnessed firsthand. When my grandfather chose to open Jose Marti School in the city of Miami, a private school designed to provide affordable bilingual education, it was Osvaldo who helped him turn that dream into reality in 1974. Thanks to his guidance, the school remains operational to this day, continuing to serve the very community he dedicated his life to uplifting. That is who Osvaldo Soto was, a man who used the law not as a weapon of division, but as a tool to build, to empower, and to create lasting opportunities for others. You have already heard of many of Osvaldo's accomplishments, but perhaps his greatest legacy lies in the very bench that will preside in that courthouse. Today, 58% of our court is composed of Hispanic judges. Not one of us would have been able to achieve this dream without Osvaldo paving the way. Naming this courthouse in his honor is not just a tribute. It is a way for us to express our deepest gratitude for his work and enduring impact. This honor will also serve as a lasting reminder of the values he championed: justice, integrity, and service to the people. It would inspire future generations to use the law as a force for good, just as he did. No man is esteemed for what he receives, for what he gives. Osvaldo Soto gave his life in service to others, and it is only fitting that his name be forever tied to the pursuit of justice in our community. I respectfully ask for your support in ensuring that his name stands as a symbol for justice for generations to come. Thank you, the Honorable Gina Beovides. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Judge. Now we have Judge Bertia Soto and Andres Lopez on deck. And folks, now in order to make sure we get to everybody, now we're gonna have a hard stop at a minute, okay?
I'm going to read really fast.
Let's do it. Name and address for the record, please.
Bertila Soto, 73 West Flagler, Suite 311, Miami, Florida. Chair Gonzalez, commissioners, colleagues, family, and friends, I'd like my brothers to stand up. Ozzy and Ricky are here. We're missing Eddie, my niece, and my sister-in-law who are here. Today, we do more than ask you to name a courthouse. We ask you to honor a man's life's work, which was dedicated to justice, equality, and opportunity for all. We ask you to name the new courthouse after Osvaldo Soto, who was not just a lawyer, he was a visionary leader, a fighter for fairness, and a champion of civil rights. He also happens to have been my father. A courthouse is more than a building. It is a symbol of justice, a place where the law serves all people equally. By naming the courthouse after Osvaldo Soto, we are ensuring that his legacy of fairness and accessibility lives on. Every person who walks through that door seeking justice, defending their rights, or pursuing a better future will be reminded of his fight to make the system work for everyone.
Finish your thought.
Okay. My father loved being a lawyer. He practiced in Cuba, and when he came to the United States, he overcame every obstacle to learn his law degree, not just for himself, but to serve his community. He worked tirelessly to guarantee that all Miami-Dade citizens had access to government, employment, and opportunity. He fought for legislation in this same chamber that opened the doors for all, breaking barriers that had long kept many of us from achieving our American dream. So many of us in this chamber, as Kathy says, stand on the shoulders of my father. He paved the way for us, ensuring that future generations wouldn't have to fight the same battles. Today, we ask you to honor him, not just with a name on a building, but reaffirming our commitment to justice, equality, and opportunity for all. To his colleagues, he was a leader. To Miami-Dade, a champion of progress. And to me, he was my hero. The man whose strength, love, and guidance shaped my life and those of so many others. May this courthouse stand as a testament to his legacy, a place where justice is upheld, where doors remain open for all, and where his belief in fairness and equality will live on for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Andres Lopez and Judge Lodi Jean on deck. Andres, name and address for the record, and let's keep it to a minute, please, guys.
Andres Raul Lopez, law office at 2665 South Bayshore Drive. Commissioners, thank you very much for your time today. I'll be very brief. Mr. Soto was an amazing mentor to my father, and my father's an amazing mentor to me. Bertilla Soto has been an amazing mentor to me through law school. It was fantastic to hear the stories of this amazing man, and I'll yield the rest of my time to just say thank you so much for this time, and in favor of Osvaldo Soto, who is a hero to many of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Judge Lodi Jean and Judge Nation Savy on deck.
Good morning. I'll be brief as well. Lodi Jean, I'm a judge in Miami-Dade County. My address is excluded. I'm a fellow Haitian American, former president of the Haitian Lawyers Association. Hans Ottenat is also here with us. I wanted to offer a different perspective as a Haitian American. In 2016, then Commissioner Keon Hardeman in the city of Miami helped name Little Haiti as the official name of that neighborhood. I was there for that naming, which was a great source of pride for our community. Father Gérard Jean Juste Community Center is another venue that has hosted many events, and that was named after the Catholic priest who was a fierce advocate for Haitian immigrants and the founder of the Haitian Refugee Center. The Joe Celestin Recreational Center is also another venue where we gather as fellow Haitian Americans. It was named after the first Haitian American mayor of North Miami. I say this to showcase that representation matters, inclusiveness matters, groups and their contributions to our South Florida community matter, and the diversity of our South Florida community matters. It's time for our fellow Cuban Americans to receive that type of public recognition for one of the giants in their community, Osvaldo Soto. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. Judge Savy, followed by Roland Sanchez Medina.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much. And I want to say a special thank you to all the commissioners for, you're the reason we're here. You're the reason that we have this courthouse going up across the street. And you and your predecessors, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't even be in this position. I also need to say that Judge Soto just jumped up before me, and she forgot to mention that her husband and daughter are also here. So round of applause for them, too. I'm going to try not to repeat what so many of my colleagues and friends have said. You've heard about the legacy of Osvaldo Soto, and I just want to point out that I am not a Cuban American, but like Mr. Lawrence said, I am one of Osvaldo Soto's honorary children. I can say that I wouldn't be where I was. I wouldn't have achieved what I did in this town if it wasn't for the legacy that he created. Clearly, his legacy is more than worthy of putting his name on a building. I think that's been firmly established. I want to point out to all of you that every single day we have 1,000 jurors, not to mention all the other people that come into our courthouse all day, every day, and that's what we expect in the new beautiful courthouse that's about to open in a couple of months. And we happen to live in a community where we do put names on buildings. I didn't state my full name, Chief Judge Nushin Safi, and my location is the Lawson E. Thomas Courthouse. At some point, it was noticed that it was really important to have Lawson Thomas's name on that courthouse. It's the reason we have Wilkie Ferguson's name on the courthouse, and it's important now to have a Hispanic. We don't have any Hispanics and no Cuban Americans in a town that is largely successful because of the efforts of Hispanics and Cubans, and no one exemplifies that more than Osvaldo Soto. I do want to make one final point. I promise it'll take less than 15 seconds. A third point that hasn't been made here today, and she doesn't want me to mention this, and I think I was told directly not to mention it, so she's probably back there scowling at me right now. But it is also fitting. The blood, sweat, and tears of so many people are in that building, people that fought long and hard for the building of this new courthouse over the course of decades. Nobody has more blood, sweat, and tears in that building than Bertie Soto, who was the chief judge at that time. So it is. And I know because I was at her coattails during a lot of that blood, sweat, and tears. So it's really, we do name courthouses for people in this town. This building is named for someone as well, and I think it is more than fitting that our new civil courthouse, a lot of my colleagues are here. I don't know if they're going to all get to speak, but you probably have a good majority of the bench that agrees, and we hope that you name the courthouse after Osvaldo Soto. Thank you so much.
Roland Sanchez Medina, followed by the Honorable Tomas Regalado, our property appraiser.
Good morning, Commissioner Gonzalez. Roland Sanchez Medina, 751 Geronimo Drive, Coral Gables, Florida. I don't want to repeat some of the things said about salad, fighting the anti-Spanish ordinance. But growing up in Miami, one of the things that I remembered, and I will remember for the rest of my life, is seeing the bumper sticker with the last American leaving Miami-Dade County, please bring the flag. One of the people that changed this county and allowed it to grow like it has, and allowed the composition of the county commission to be like this. And by the way, thank you for mentioning me earlier today, Commissioner. That's my ADHD, I apologize. Was Osvaldo Soto. He changed the very nature of our community. He was a loving guy. I happened to run in a contested CABA election. Robert Pardo, who's now the president of FFLA, is also here. He came up to me and he said, Roland, can we just come to an agreement? Can you guys work it out? It did not end up working out, but that's the kind of man that Osvaldo Soto was. Like I said, it just changed the trajectory of this town and where we are today. And so, and with all due respect to Harvey, because Harvey is also a member of the Florida Bar,
Thank you.
May make the wise decision. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you so much. Property appraiser Tomas Regalado, followed by David Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm here. My name is Tomas Regalado, Property Appraisal, Miami-Dade County, 111 Northwest 1st Street, 7th floor, if you have any problem with your home. But I'm here. But I'm here as a journalist for many, many years, and I can tell you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, that are many, many years. And I vividly remember covering a press conference by Osvaldo Soto at the steps of the court that we all know as Cielito Lindo. Here, the front entrance of this building, many times we interview Osvaldo Soto for the TV and radio. And I remember one time that he was doing a show with me and my wife in the radio, and someone called and said, Tomas, Raquel, I have been fired because I was speaking Spanish in my job. And we said, hold on, we're gonna get Osvaldo Soto on the phone. And we paused the guy and we got Osvaldo on the phone. And what Osvaldo did is that he did that person, he gave him hope. And he gave him the knowledge that he came to a foreign country, that he tried to do the right thing, but because of discrimination, he wasn't being able to achieve the American dream. And Osvaldo Soto gave many people that felt discriminated the hope that they will also be able to achieve the American dream. So please consider naming Osvaldo Soto your new county court. Thank you.
Thank you so much. David Friedman, followed by Ricardo Martinez Cid.
Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
David Friedman with the Coffey Burlington Law Firm at 2601 South Bayshore Drive in the city of Miami. The big picture here is obvious. We have two very respected families, each fighting for their patriarch to have this particular honor. I speak today on behalf of the Committee to Honor Harvey Reuven, which is a coalition of community leaders coming together to tell you that Mr. Reuven, with his 50-plus years of experience for this community, deserves to have his name on that building. We are supported in our efforts by the County Employees Labor Union. Thousands of their members served under Harvey's leadership over his many, many years. Our chair is Manny Medina, serving also with Leonard Abbas. Community leaders include a variety of mayors, Other elected officials, the Honorable Elaine Bloom is with us today, Joe Geller on the committee, Senator Pizzo on the committee. The business community has joined up with us. Tony Argiz from the BDO accounting firm, John Brunetti from the city of Hialeah, Russell Galbert from Crescent Heights. These are major forces who shaped our community. Lawyers abound on our committee: Robert Zarco, Aaron Pothurst, Ron Book, Kendall Coffey. I'm going to leave out a lot of names. Harris Buckbinder is there as well. The bottom line of which is, others will speak about Harvey's career. I'm sure you all know a lot about it, but both locally, nationally, and internationally, this man played a role in this community that deserves to have his name on that building. He not only served as commissioner and clerk, he was an advisor to Reagan, Bush, and Clinton, served on the United Nations Committee on Climate Change. He is a hero in this community and a giant on whose shoulders we also stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. Ricardo Martinez Sid, followed by Dr. John Giordano.
Ricardo Martinez Sid, 2525 Ponce. I have the honor of having practiced in a law firm, Podhurst Orsec, for over 20 years, a firm that was founded in the 60s, and got to see the giants, like Osvaldo Soto in their prime, like Harvey Reuven in their prime. My partners and myself, we are strongly in favor of having this courthouse named for Osvaldo Soto. I've heard countless stories from Aaron Podhurst, from Bob Josephsberg, of him way back in the early days, working with the NAACP, with the Jewish community, with every community, the Haitians, everyone, to bring them together. That's what this county is all about. It's what makes our county wonderful, and I hope that we can honor his legacy and this county's legacy by naming the courthouse in his name. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. John Giordano, followed by Risa Rubin. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Dr. John Giordano. I'm a chaplain for the North Miami Police Department, a traumatologist who works with police officers that have been in shootings and are wounded warriors.
Address for the record, sir?
My address is 11420 Southwest 23rd Place, Davie, Florida. I know Harvey Reuven for over 40 years. And, you know, listening to both sides of this and listening to the other gentlemen and knowing Harvey, what a good public servant he was and how he had values and integrity. Personally, I think both of these guys should be on this building, to be honest with you. Harvey was an incredible public servant for so many years. And it's a shame that we have to go one to the other. And I understand whatever that works with all of you, but, you know, God watches over all of this. And I believe all of you will make the right decision. All I could say is I believe Harvey should be on this building also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Reuven?
Hi, I'm Risa Reuven, the widow of Harvey Reuven. When Harvey was told, when we were told that he had stage 4 cancer, the first thing out of his mouth was, "This can't be. I have too much to do. I have too much to accomplish still in my community." In final months of his life, many people called him and said, "We want to name the new courthouse after you." And his answer would be, "That should be for someone that, I thank you so much for that honor, but that should be for someone that passed away already." He was so determined to live and to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish, always for his community, Dade County. No one on this planet had a connection to this courthouse in Dade County as much as my husband, Harvey. He lived at 73 West Flagler Street. We called our residence his home away from home. It would take hours to discuss all he did for this community during his 52 years plus as an elected public official. The citizens of this county owe a huge debt of gratitude to my husband. He was a gentleman for all people of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rubin. Yara Klukas, followed by Milton Vickers. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. My name is Yara Lorenzo Klukas. I serve as a judge in Miami-Dade County Court, and my address is 175 Northwest 1st Street. I stand before you this afternoon to read a letter from one of my colleagues, the Honorable Ariana Fajardo-Orshan. And she says, "It is with great respect and deep conviction that I stand before you today to advocate for the naming of our new, beautiful courthouse after a true legal legend, Osvaldo Soto. Osvaldo Soto was more than a lawyer. He was a pioneer, a relentless advocate for justice, and a trailblazer who used the law to combat discrimination in South Florida. His work laid the foundation for so many of us who followed, and his legacy continues to shape the very fabric of our legal system. I have had the privilege of serving my community in many roles, first as circuit judge since 2012, and now as chief judge-elect of our circuit. When I take office on July 1, 2025, I will become only the second Hispanic to hold this title, the first being Osvaldo Soto's own daughter, who relentlessly fought for the need for this courthouse. I also had the honor of serving as a United States Attorney from 2018 to 2021, becoming the first Hispanic female to be presidentially nominated and Senate confirmed for that position. Naming this courthouse after Osvaldo Soto would be a tribute to his lifelong pursuit. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Milton Vickers, followed by Daniel Marmerstein. Name and address for the record, sir, please.
Milton Vickers, 7946 Northwest 162nd Street, Miami Lakes. Mr. Chairman, commissioners, many of you I know. I started in Metropolitan-Dade County when it was Metropolitan-Dade County in July of 1970. I started as a public information officer and rose to the rank of Minority Business Development Director, Affirmative Action Director, Fair Housing and Employment Director. Later going to Miami Beach, later going to the city of Miami. And I'll tell you, without hesitation, that Harvey Reuven voted for every piece of civil rights legislation that I presented to the Board of County Commissioners. He championed our Mariolito. He championed the Haitian migration into Dade County. Not only championed it, but he acted as a primary sponsor and funder for those two events, and they were major events. And I know my time is running short, but I will tell you that there is no better person to name that courthouse for than Harvey Reuven. I spent 6 years as the chief of the juvenile division of clerk of the circuit court. And I do that, and I serve that time with distinction. Harvey supported every item that I raised to him as it relates to some of the most misunderstood individuals in our community. I, too, am friends with some of the individuals who are supporting Osvaldo Soto. I knew Osvaldo Soto. In many instances, Osvaldo supported some of the items or many of the items that I had. But I can tell you, Harvey Reuven name should be placed on that building.
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Mr. Marmerstein, followed by Peter Kachalakos.
Danny
Name
Marmerstein.
and address for the record, please.
Danny Marmerstein, 10520 Southwest 124th Street, 33176. I'm Harvey Reuven's brother-in-law, and I officiated his funeral. Many judges, lawyers, and others who worked in the courthouse are deserving of recognition for their outstanding achievements. Many have fought for the rights of people of color, for women, for the oppressed in Miami-Dade courts, including Harvey Reuven. But there was never, nor will there ever be, one who served all of the people for so long and is so deserving as Harvey. His energetic spirit permeated the building. Harvey was the glue that kept the courthouse together. Among his many outstanding achievements, he oversaw every aspect of the entire operation. He streamlined its efficiency from paper to digital into a model that is now used in nearly every county court system in the nation. For this, in 2001, more than 20 years ago, the Miami-Dade Clerk's Office was awarded by the world's tech leader, PTI Technologies, their Tech Solutions winner. Harvey did so with the great kindness, and testimony is that he was overwhelmingly reelected by the people decade after decade after decade. In the new courthouse, name the entry lobby after Attorney Soto with a large portrait of the man, or an entire floor dedicated to him, or a different building, but please, name the new courthouse after Miami-Dade County Clerk of the Court Harvey Reuven. His life was the courthouse, and such a tribute made possible by you would be the greatest expression of gratitude to him on behalf of all the people he served in Miami-Dade County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Kuchelkoff. Now, Peter Kuchelkoff, followed by Brenda Sperling. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Nice try, Mr. Chair. You took a stab at it. My name is Peter Kuchelakis.
Kuchelak.
Address is 920 Messina Avenue, Coral Gables, Florida. And I'm a native of Dade County. Born and raised here, and I want to make it clear that both of these gentlemen are great servants. But I stand here before you today in support of naming that courthouse after Harvey Reuven. Harvey was a giant, the longest serving public servant in Dade County's history. 20 years as a commissioner, 30 years as clerk of the courts. He was a tireless advocate for all people, from Aventura to Homestead. His legacy, I could spend the rest of the day, and I don't want to burn the rest of the daylight that these fine folks that are waiting to speak have, okay? But his record speaks volumes in the environment, in building, in everything that touched our lives in this county. And most importantly, he was my friend. His wife is my friend, and that man was a friend to all people. Please support Harvey Reuven's name for consideration on that courthouse.
Thank you so much. Brenda Sperling, name and address for the record, followed by Harley Troppin.
Good afternoon. Brenda Sperling, 7928 East Drive, North Bay Village, Florida, 33141. I thank all of you for accepting my late role in this towards Harvey Reuven's nomination. I'm a lay person who has known Harvey. I was also born in Cuba, have lived on Miami Beach for 64 years, and I think that the greatness of a person should be what he has done for the community as a whole. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Harley Troppin, 2525 Ponce de Leon Boulevard, Coral Gables, Florida. I speak in favor of naming the courthouse for Osvaldo Soto. He was a giant, a giant. I'm not going to repeat what you've heard from all these eloquent speakers. As part of the Greater Miami Jewish Federation, I had the honor of honoring his daughter, Bertie Soto, for her enormous contribution of getting this courthouse that we're going to name. Osvaldo Soto was a man of courage. I'm old enough to remember the English-only ordinance and the work that he did with empathy, kindness, and courage in getting that turned around and getting this community to realize the greatness that it has. Now, it's time for the community to return the favor. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you so much. Bruce Lair, followed by Maria D. Garcia. Name and address for the record, sir, please.
Bruce Lair, 4000 Ponce de Leon Boulevard, Coral Gables. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I speak not only for myself but for my wife, Judge Miriam Lair. Although I'm not as old as Judge Rodriguez, I've been a member of the bar for 43 years, and I started as chief of the county courts for Janet Reno. I watched in awe as, you see, I'm a Jew from Brooklyn, and there actually was and is discrimination in New York, and my father had to deal with it. I came down and I was in awe as Osvaldo Soto handled discrimination. He handled it without putting anybody down. He helped everyone. He helped my wife, who is not Cuban. He helped my wife become a judge. He always did the right thing. And I stood in awe as on his shoulders, Cubans became judges, became presidents of the Florida Bar, Supreme Court justices, and U.S. attorneys, and they were the best. So it is I know both men, and I admire both men, but this community owes Osvaldo Soto. He was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maria Garcia, followed by George Baedra.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Maria D. Garcia, 2525 Ponce de Leon Boulevard. I'm here on behalf of so many that stand with us today, asking your group to please name the courthouse after Osvaldo Soto. I'd like to take a quick moment just to have those that are here in support of our effort to please stand for a moment so they could be thanked. Thank you. This courthouse, this effort means so much to so many. I knew Osvaldo from my days in law school. He was a mentor to me as he was for so many in this community. It has taken so much time and work to get to this point. And it's in honor of him. It's in honor of everything he's done for this community, for all of those in this audience, and for all the countless others that couldn't be here today. So thank you for your time today. We truly hope you consider all the information you've received today, and that you honor Osvaldo Soto in our community and everything he worked for as a mentor, as a leader, and name it after him. Thank you so much.
George Baedra, followed by Amanda Fernandez.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is George Piedra, 2525 Ponce de Leon Boulevard in Coral Gables. I stand before you as a Cuban American Bar Association past president and as a member of the Florida Bar Board of Governors representing the 11th Judicial Circuit. I certainly would not have achieved any of those positions without Osvaldo Soto having preceded me and paving the way for myself and all the wonderful Cuban American attorneys that have come before you and are serving this community in many ways. Osvaldo Soto was a trailblazer, like Wilkie Ferguson was a trailblazer. Lawton Thomas was a trailblazer. For Cuban Americans, Osvaldo Soto was our legal trailblazer, and I ask you to support the naming of this courthouse after him.
Thank you so much. Amanda Fernandez, followed by Eugenio Hernandez.
Thank you, Chair. Amanda Fernandez, 8445 Southwest 143rd Street. Chair, Commissioners, I stand before you as the president of the Cuban American Bar Association, representing thousands of attorneys, judges, and law students across Florida. On behalf of CABA, I ask you to honor the legacy of Osvaldo Soto by dedicating the new courthouse in his name. Osvaldo Soto dedicated his life to fighting for justice, equality, and civil rights for Hispanic and minority communities in South Florida. As a founding member and past president of CABA, his leadership created opportunities for countless Cuban American attorneys, including myself, to thrive in a legal system that not long ago was closed off to us. His contributions extended beyond the legal community. He fought to integrate local law enforcement, supported bilingual education, and led efforts to dismantle discriminatory laws targeting minority communities. His work transformed this county into the diverse community we call home today. This request is not just for CABA, it's for all of us. Nearly 70% of Miami-Dade County is Hispanic, and over 50% of the judges are Hispanic, a testament to the progress made by leaders like Osvaldo Soto. Yet, No courthouse in Florida is named after a Hispanic individual. Naming this courthouse after Osvaldo Soto would correct this oversight and honor his lasting legacy. Nearly 400 attorneys, judges, and community leaders have signed a letter in support of this request, standing together to recognize Osvaldo Soto's immeasurable impact.
Thank you so much. Eugenio Hernandez, followed by Daniela Costa.
Thank you. Eugenio Hernandez, 2525 Ponce de Leon. I'm a past president of the Cuban American Bar, also a past president of the Kiwanis Club of Little Havana. Thank you, Commissioner Higgins, for being there at Calle Ocho. Appreciate it.
Had a nice time.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. What can be said about Osvaldo Soto that hasn't been said already? I don't know how many of you know that he studied law in Cuba with Fidel Castro, then came to the U.S., and he actually was a teacher in Wyoming, then Virginia, ended up as a tenured professor at Iowa State, and then he came to Florida and went to law school. I had the pleasure of going back to Cuba. I was born in Cuba, so was he. We had never been back to Cuba with him when Cava was involved in the litigation for detainees and refugees at Guantanamo. And I had the distinction of flying with him to Cuba. And I'll never forget landing in Guantanamo. He's getting off the plane, kisses the ground, and tells me, before we leave, we have to take back Tierra Cubana. And that we did.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Daniela Acosta.
Good afternoon, Daniela Acosta, 15032 Southwest 149th Street, and I will be reading a letter by Jose Villalobos. I leap back 40, 45, 50 years ago when blacks, Hispanics, and other minorities had no voice, no representation, no existence in this community. You sitting commissioners may now not realize that 40 years ago was a time when voices from Hispanics and Afro-Americans about positions of power and brave men and women fought for the representation and dignity that they deserved. Despite living, working, and contributing to the prosperity of Miami-Dade County, these minorities had no political representation and were marginalized in the decision-making process. By naming the courthouse after Osvaldo Soto, Miami-Dade County would not only recognize his legacy, but would also reaffirm its commitment to the values of equal opportunity. Such gesture would serve as a daily reminder of the progress made throughout hard-fought battles and would inspire future generations like myself to continue serving for a more equitable society. In light of his remarkable contributions and enduring spirit, I urge you to honor Osvaldo Soto's legacy by approving this petition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Carol Holland, followed by Valentina Matias. And folks, so we have 36 more speakers. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to call everybody up because I feel like this is important. But if you would like to wave in support, you can do so. So when you come up, if you want to wave in support, you can just say who you're supporting. If you'd like to give a speech, I'm going to recognize you, okay? But we're going to keep it to 1 minute. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. You're not recognized right now. Can somebody help her, please? Valentina. No, I'm sorry. Carol Holland, followed by Valentina Matias. Name and address for the record.
Valentina.
Valentina?
Hello, my name is Valentina Agudo Matis. My address is 11100 Southwest 67th Avenue, Pinecrest, Florida. I would like to start my statement today by thanking Mr. Soto for his service and all the work that he did for the Latino community. I'm a Jewish Venezuelan immigrant, and I have been a member of the South Florida community for decades. I speak today as a testament to Harvey Rubin's lifetime of public service to the entire community of South Florida, with his devotion to the environment, to the entire courthouse community, regardless of race, religion, political beliefs, or country of origin. Harvey was not only representing us all, he inspired a new generation of public servants. Why name the courthouse after Harvey? Because Harvey built it, because Harvey is the courthouse. For over 35 years, Harvey walked the halls of the courthouse, building it, fixing it, constructing, and bonding teams that carried them through all the times, including the pandemic. The courthouse works flawlessly due to his hard work and devotion as a leader. Harvey was a friend and an inspiration. Our courthouse should
Thank
be
you so
honored
much.
with his name.
Ricardo
Thank you.
Mejia, followed by Larry Schweizer. Ricardo Mejia and Larry Schweizer, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Ricardo Humberto Mejia, and I come to you from 11100 Southwest 67th Avenue, Pinecrest, Florida. I'm here today to speak as an advocate for naming our courts after Harvey Reuven. Harvey's work in environmental conservation, community justice for all, and equal representation has inspired many to continue his work. Harvey Reuven is a name that to me radiates unity and an interest for the common good. I say this because at the core of Harvey Reuven's essence was his ability to find a middle ground, no matter politics, race, religion, or country of origin. A reminder of his work towards unity and understanding is, in my opinion, just as what citizens of Miami-Dade need in a time of so much political divide. As a proud member of the Latino community with a Colombian father and a Venezuelan immigrant, she just spoke, I want to thank Osvaldo for his work, but also remember that Harvey Reuven inspired me and many other Latinos to be proud of where we come from. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we have Larry Schweizer and Howard Premier. Now, folks, I will say this. At 2 o'clock, there is a different committee. So I need people that are going to wave in support. I need you guys to start thinking of volunteers. Mr. Schweizer, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Larry Schweiger, 7920 Biscayne Point Circle, Miami Beach, Florida. I've known Harvey for close to 20 years. He was a very close friend. I spent many hours listening to him discuss the court issues and the issues of Miami and his history here in Miami. Quite frankly, he was a fascinating gentleman, and his love for Miami-Dade County and the courts show no bounds. Everybody in the courthouse loved him. I've never seen anybody have the streets shut down for them for a funeral, but it was quite the impressive thing to see how many people came out to show their love. I think this courthouse should be named after Harvey, and I think everybody, a lot of the people here in this room agree as well, and I'm sure the other judge is a fabulous gentleman, and both men can be honored. Thank you.
Thank you. Howard Premier, followed by Eduardo Palmer.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Howard Premier, 2010 Northeast 120th Road, North Miami. Let me say very simply that I believe that Harvey Reuven is the most consequential figure in Miami-Dade County's history. 50 years ago, literally 50 years ago, 1975, yours truly, a young skinny reporter from WKAT, was told to make friends with this young commissioner, Harvey Reuven. Harvey embraced me, and throughout my years, as the mayor of the city of North Miami, through Harvey's encouragement, I was very proud to serve as a public servant. Owners of radio stations and throughout my life, Harvey Reuven, very simply, was the most important figure in this young person, now not so young, but young at heart, in my particular life. I will say one thing, and I say this as a former elected official that knows Harvey, that knew Harvey very, very well in terms of, in just 1 minute, if you would, Mr. Chairman, through you.
I'm sorry, sir. We're out of time, and at this time, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Bastian, who has a committee right after this.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. For those of you who are outside waiting for the 2 p.m. housing meeting, as the chair of housing, I'd like to inform you not to leave, but we will be starting promptly at 2:30. The housing committee will start promptly at 2:30. If you're outside waiting, please be patient. We appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Eduardo Palmer, name and address for the record, followed by Francis de la Guardia.
Thank you, members of the Commission. Eduardo Palmer, Law Office 2601 South Bayshore Drive, Penthouse 1. I stand before you here today as a proponent to name the courthouse in Osvaldo Soto's honor. I was fortunate enough to meet Osvaldo Soto when I was in law school. He attended the University of Havana Law School with my father, and I met him, and I'll never forget the first meeting I had with him when he learned I was studying law. He was so excited for me. He says, this is a great profession. You are so fortunate to be entering the profession. And after the years I worked with him and saw him work in the community, I realized why. Because for Osvaldo, the law was an instrument of social justice. He lived it, he breathed it. His heart was always in the right place. He was a warm soul with a welcoming smile, a man of the people. He had unwavering moral clarity and the courage to act on it for the benefit of others. A humble man who lived a modest life in service to others. They say there are givers and takers in life. Osvaldo was a giver. Now it's our turn to give him the honor he deserves.
Thank you so
naming the
much.
courthouse in his name. Thank you.
Francis de la Guardia, followed by Manvar Garcia Linares.
Good afternoon, Francis de la Guardia, 555 Northeast 15th Street, Miami, Florida. I'm a former president of the Cuban American Bar Association and the current vice president of the Hispanic National Bar Association. I'm here today to lend my unwavering support for the naming of the courthouse in honor of Osvaldo Soto, a true pioneer in the Miami community. Osvaldo dedicated his life to advancing the rights and opportunities of Hispanics and other minorities, ensuring they were judged on their merit and never treated as less than their equals to their peers. I speak today on behalf of the Hispanic National Bar Association, one of the largest Hispanic associations with 78,000 members and 19,000 law students who wholeheartedly support this initiative. The HMBA's mission is to educate, engage, and empower practicing and aspiring members of the Hispanic legal community. Naming the courthouse in honor of Osvaldo Soto aligns perfectly with the HMBA mission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Heidi Serra, followed by Savannah Fesesa. And then after that, we have Roberto Martinez. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Heidi Serra, 2800 Ponce de Leon. I am Vice President of the Cuban American Bar Association, and I am here to extend my support for the naming of the courthouse after Osvaldo Soto. President Fernandez earlier advised the Commission that we have submitted a letter to the Commission requesting this naming. That letter is signed off on by multiple members of our community whose names are many, but I'm just going to name a few so that you know the supporters that may or may not be here today. Pedro Allende, the Honorable William Altfield, the Honorable Betsy Alvarez Zane, Nelson Bellido, former CABA board member, the Honorable Esteban Bovo Jr., Richard Cole, Armando Codina, Carlos Corbella, the Honorable Miguel de la O, Mirta de Perales, Jose Felix Diaz, and so many others. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Savannah Ferreira, followed by Javier Ley Soto.
Thank you, Sandra Ferreira.
Oh,
945 Vieira Avenue in Coral Gables. I think the strong turnout today reflects the deep respect and gratitude our community has for Osvaldo Soto's legacy. Naming this courthouse after him would be a fitting tribute to his lifelong fight for justice, fairness, and inclusion. I humbly ask that this honor be granted, ensuring his impact be remembered for generations to come. Thank you to the commissioners for your time and thoughtful consideration of this important recognition.
Thank you. Javier Ley Soto, followed by Minam S. Ramos. Name and address for the record, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Javier Ley Soto, 300 Northeast 2nd Avenue. I am the immediate past president of the Cuban American Bar Association, having served, luckily, as the president during its 50th year in 2024, golden anniversary, and only 46 years after Osvaldo served as our president. I come here to speak in addition to all the stories that you guys are hearing here, and I want to read you guys a few names. Sidney Arnovitz, MC Blanchard, Stephen P. Mickle Sr.
Thank you so much. Minam Ramos, followed by Stephen Ladeness.
Good afternoon, Miriam Soto Ramos with office at 701 Brickell Avenue. I am here as a president or past president of the Cuban American Bar Association, but this morning I have the honor of reading a statement from Florida Supreme Court Justice John Curiel. I was delighted to hear of the proposal to name our new courthouse for the late Osvaldo Soto. It is not too soon to say that he inspired generations of lawyers to work for the cause of justice. I am one of them. Mr. Soto was, at the time of the revolution that brought him to this country, already an energetic advocate for freedom. It is our nation's great benefit that he has made his legal career here. He was a voice to many who had no other expression. Our community sounds the way it does in no small measure because of his work. I like to think of Mr. Soto would be happy to count on 3 Cuban Americans and 1 Nicaraguan American on my court, but he merits the tribute that you are considering today because of what he represents to all Americans regardless of origin. With energy, with commitment, and with faith in the cause of fairness, any one of us can help form the perfect union promised by our Constitution.
Thank you so much. Stephen Ladeness, followed by David Ackerman.
Stephen Leidner, 1131 of 2nd Street, Bay Harbor Islands. Harvey Rubin.
Awesome. Awesome. David Ackerman, followed by Ramon Abadil.
Good afternoon. My name is David Ackerman, 16121 Aberdeen Way, Miami Lakes, Florida. I am proud and honored to have been a friend and associate of Harvey Rubin. I'm disappointed that those of us who want to speak in favor of Harvey are being cut off, while many, many others have been given the opportunity to speak, not just 1 minute, but for 5 and 10 minutes. Harvey was an important contributor to Miami-Dade his entire life. Many of us owe Harvey Rubin more than just gratitude. We owe him just for being the person he was, the kind of individual who created respect for the county around the world. Harvey made gigantic contributions. Read the uncounted obituaries, the people who honored him at his funeral. I strongly support Harvey Rubin and should give everyone a chance to say their piece.
We did. Ramon Abadin, followed by Jonathan Alfors. Jonathan Alfors, followed by Fabian Ruiz.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jonathan Alfonso, 7260 Southwest 39th Terrace. I am a member of the Florida Bar since 2008. I am also a member of the National Association of Real Estate Professionals, and I currently serve as president of the residential section of the Miami Realtors, and I am here before speaking in favor of the naming of the building in honor of Mr. Osvaldo Soto, but I have the honor of reading a letter on behalf of Eduardo Padron, President Emeritus of Miami-Dade College, who could not be with us today, and his letter states, Dear Commissioners, a petition has been filed by the Cuban American Bar Association and many community leaders to name the new Miami-Dade courthouse after Osvaldo Soto. I am wholeheartedly in support of this effort. Osvaldo Soto was a trailblazing lawyer, civil rights advocate, and lifelong defender of equality and justice for the Hispanic and minority communities in South Florida. His name would serve as a meaningful tribute to our community's past and a beacon for its future. Osvaldo dedicated his life to the betterment and progress of our community and to equal opportunity for all. And naming the Miami-Dade courthouse after him will be a testament to his legacy. Out of Miami-Dade County's 11 courthouses.
Thank you, Fabian Ruiz, followed by Joshua Padron.
Fabian Ruiz, 333 Southeast 2nd Avenue. I am in favor of naming the courthouse after Osvaldo Soto, and I have the pleasure of reading a letter from 11th Judicial Circuit Judge Jorge E. Cueto. From his youth in Cuba fighting against authoritarianism and dictatorship, Osvaldo Soto showed his commitment to freedom and the defense of the right of the other. Arriving in this community, he survived his participation in the Bay of Pigs invasion. He was a man of his word and deed. In Miami-Dade, as he engaged in the practice of law, he fought for the rights of people seen as less by some because of language, ethnicity, or color. Naming the new civil courthouse in his memory is a fitting tribute to his efforts. Those efforts resulted in making our Miami-Dade a more equitable and just community. Not many of us can make the claim that we truly made a difference. Osvaldo Soto did. I respectfully ask that you consider naming the new civil courthouse in recognition of this fine man's contributions to the community. To do so would be fair and just. José Martí, Cuba's founding father, said, honrar, honra. This translates to
Thank you so
honor
much.
brings
Gustavo
honor.
Ceballos, followed by Emily Balter and Marcia Caballero.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Gustavo Ceballos, 6141 Southwest 18th Street. I have the honor of reading the letter from our Honorable Marie Mato, Dear honorable members of the Miami-Dade County Commission, I respectfully submit this letter to add my support to the naming of Miami-Dade County Courthouse in favor of Osvaldo Soto. Despite having never served as an elected official or held public office, Osvaldo Soto, in his capacity as a private citizen and lawyer in our community, led a life of service. Osvaldo Soto was a gentleman, a unifier, a courageous leader, a trailblazer, and a legal giant in our community. Osvaldo Soto was an undisputed champion of civil rights in our community. He relentlessly fought against racial and ethnic discrimination. Thanks to Osvaldo Soto's leadership, those who enter the new courthouse will be welcomed by a more diverse judicial bench that is more reflective of our community than what he experienced when he began his legal career in Miami. It is no coincidence that his daughter was so instrumental in making the new courthouse a reality. Though Osvaldo Soto's life and legal career certainly makes him deserving of such an incredible honor, it's even more fitting given Judge Soto's efforts.
Emily Balter, followed by Marcia Caballero.
Good afternoon, Emily Balter, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. Thank you. Today I'm here reading remarks from Ray Abedin, past president of the Cuban American Bar Association and past president of the Florida Bar. He quotes Pope Francis, "Rivers do not drink their own water, trees do not eat their own fruit, the sun does not shine on itself, and the flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other, no matter how difficult it is. Life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you." Osvaldo Soto lived his life serving others, and particularly his community, as they all adjusted to life in exile in a place that was not always welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcia Caballero, name and address for the record, followed by Bobby Nunez.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Marcia Caballero. I'm a circuit court judge, the administrative judge at the Unified Children's Courthouse right across the street. And I'll just share very briefly a personal story of how I met Mr. Soto. So 40 years ago, I decided to change my career. I was a teacher in the public school system here in Miami-Dade, went to law school, became a lawyer. My very first hearing in Cielito Lindo, I went before a judge who really mistreated me in a very terrible, awful way, in public. Humiliating experience, very embarrassing, very discouraging. It was my first hearing. I won't share the details, but it was pretty awful. Thankfully, Mr. Soto was in the audience that morning. He heard everything that gentleman said to me. He followed me out of the courtroom, helped me to make sure that I would never have to appear before this gentleman ever again, or this man ever again. He literally, I owe my legal career to him. I would not be a judge. I would not have stayed in the legal
Thank you so
profession
much.
if it
Bobby
was not for him.
Nunez,
So I
followed by
encourage you all to
Aliette
please
Drodz.
honor him and name him.
Mr. Nunez, name and address for the record, please.
My name is Bobby Nunez. I am the president of the Miami-Dade Trial Lawyers Association and a lifelong Miami-Dade resident. I respectfully suggest the naming of the new Miami-Dade courthouse with the name of Osvaldo Soto.
Thank you. Aliette Drodz, followed by Dax Bello.
Aliette Rods, from Shetson Bowen, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, 33131. I'm a Hispanic woman, a lawyer, raised and born in Miami, who also stands on the shoulders of Mr. Soto as the first Hispanic female shareholder at Shetson Bowen. It's the Florida oldest firm in our town. It was founded in 1910. We're celebrating 115 years this year. We support the naming of the courthouse to be after Osvaldo Soto. He's an activist, a legal pioneer who embodies our community's continued plight for justice. His name on our community's courthouse would undeniably serve as a meaningful tribute to his leadership and our community's impressionable past and its vision for continued growth. Thank you for your time, and please do name it after Mr. Soto.
Thank you so much. Dax Bello, followed by Victoria Mendez and Pacifico Montoya.
Good morning, Dax Bello, 7960 Southwest 52nd Court. I'm a past president of the Cuban American Bar Association, and the point I'd like for you all to take from me is that Mr. Soto wasn't a politician. No one paid him for his community service. He did it on his free time, sacrificing from his family. There's 0 courthouses named after a Hispanic in the state of Florida. Naming the new courthouse after Mr. Soto will be more than just a dedication to him. It'll be a tribute to everybody from that generation who landed in this swamp and turned it into the megapolis that it's become today. We're living in Osvaldo Soto's Miami-Dade County. The least that we can do is name a building after him. with the capacity to continue to make this county better like he did. Thank you.
Thank you. Pacifico Montoya, followed by George Forrest Jr.
Good afternoon. My name is Victoria Mendez. I stand here as past president of the Cuban American Bar Association. I am here to support wholeheartedly the naming of this courthouse after Osvaldo Soto. My great-grandmother, America, came from Cuba. She had 12 children. Of these 12 children, 9 of them came to the United States, and several of them were represented by Osvaldo Soto. He's a wonderful man. He was very kind to my family, and I hope that you also take into account that even though he was not a public official like all of you and give daily, he gave to all those that he came in contact with. Thank you so much.
Mr. Montoya, followed by George Forrest Jr.
Good afternoon, Patrick Montoya, 201 Sevilla Avenue. I have the distinct pleasure of reading a statement by Markenzie LaPointe, war veteran and the former U.S. District Attorney General for the Southern District of Florida. I did not know the late Soto, but thank God that history is stubborn, and I was able to talk to people who knew him and read upon his history of fighting for civil rights. In a time where there are concrete and organized efforts to erase American history, including the history of overcoming by so many members of our society, Soto's memory provides us all a cautionary tale. In a time when it has been convenient to remove from primary and secondary schools peer-reviewed history books that provide accurate accounts of slavery, redlining, and other discriminatory practices that have had such a deleterious impact upon communities, Soto's memory provides a cautionary tale. A time when the pursuit of diversity has been targeted in a fierce and unproductive manner and hard-earned progress in civil rights is genuinely threatened, Soto's memory provides a cautionary tale. That is not repeating the mistakes of yesteryear and not reversing years of progress in the quest to make this a better place for all. Soto's memory forces us to acknowledge that all of us are deserving of an opportunity to participate in our economy and political process. Naming the courthouse after Soto allows us to look in the mirror and reflect upon...
Thank you so much. George Forrest Jr., followed by Iris Escarra.
Chair, Commissioners, thank you. George Forrest Jr., 1415 Algeria Avenue, Coral Gables, Florida. I'd like to use my time just to read a few names into the record in no particular order who have signed the petition before you in favor of the naming of the courthouse after Osvaldo Soto. Jose Felix Diaz, Francis Suarez, Judge Roberto Diaz, Victoria Ferrer, Willie Ferrer, Gary Fox, Willie Gort, Judge Michelle Gonzalez Paulson, Stuart Grossman, Michael Haggard, Milton Hirsch, Robert Josephberg, John Koziak, Vince Lago, Pablo Law, Bruce Lair, who we heard earlier today, Alex Lastra, David Lawrence, who spoke here today, Honorable Peter Lopez, my father, George Lewis Force Sr., whose first job out of law school was working for Mr. Soto, Pedro Menendez, Todd Michaels, Eric Montes de Oca, Mario Morgado, Daniel Munilla, Leslie Pantin, Bob Pardo. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you so much. Iris Escarra, followed by Stephen Snyder and Elaine Bloom.
Iris Escarra with offices at 333 Southeast 2nd Avenue. I am here this afternoon to encourage you and ask you to please name this courthouse after Osvaldo Soto. I actually worked with him my second year of law school, my third year of law school, and he hired me, my first job. This is un caballero. This man was a stellar person in our community. He taught me as part of the guardianship program that he volunteered. We went into hospital rooms. We went into folks' homes to advocate for those folks. This is a man in his professional career took time and advocated and taught everybody in that office what the meaning of giving back was. I apologize, I'm emotional, but he is such a person that we should honor him and honor his legacy on top of everything that everybody has said here. I truly encourage you to keep that tradition alive and please name this courthouse after him. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Stephen Schneider, followed by Elaine Bloom and Derm Demerson.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Schneider, 7700 Southwest 134th Terrace, Pinecrest, Florida. I'm here in support of naming the courthouse after Harvey Rubin to honor his 50-plus years as an elected official. I am personally in the mortgage industry, and I've seen the clerk's office. The technology is risen to the best in the country, in my opinion. I use it almost daily, and his concerns for the environment and the way he's handled every position that he's ever handled here in Miami-Dade County, since before it was even Miami-Dade County, when it was just Dade County. So I am in support of naming the courthouse after Harvey Rubin.
Thank you so much. Sherm Deverson?
My name is Elaine Bloom, 5255 Collins Avenue, Miami Beach, Florida. And I guess you don't remember that I was a member of the Florida legislature for about 19 years in the prior century. But I'm very happy to be here today to tell you about a friend of mine who was 2 months older than I, Harvey Rubin. He served our county in an incredible manner, and it really should be recognized by naming the courthouse for him. I should also add that the late, great Osvaldo Soto was considered by my late husband, Judge Philip Bloom, and I to be a very wonderful person, and we really revered him. Harvey's service on the county commission from 1972 to 1992 was amazing, and he brought so much honor to us as the president of the National Association of Counties.
Thank you so much.
Do I get a little bit of
Mr.
extra for being an honorary, a prior representative? I
Sure.
think I'm your last speaker, am I not?
No, you're not. We have
I'm not.
10
All
more,
right, well, let me
but
just-
I will give you 30 more seconds.
Thank you. I should tell you that I spoke at the National Association of Counties meeting in 1990 when he was president of the National Association of Counties, and I witnessed how 2,000 people thought this man was great. I agreed. He also served with such distinction for 30 years as our clerk of courts and clerk of the county commission. I think all of you recognize that. And it's really too bad that we have two such wonderful people to choose from, but I really do think that the 50 years that Harvey Rubin gave day in and day out for Dade County needs to be recognized. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, Representative. Mr. Dermison, followed by Maria Winter Delson and Lena Amazon.
Terry Dellerson, 6,000 Island Boulevard, Aventura. Two great men, and the divisiveness seems to be ethnicity. And there's no doubt about the amazing contribution the Hispanic community has helped make Dade County the great place it is. But naming the courthouse shouldn't be about that. It should be about the contribution that Harvey Rubin has made to this community over 50 years. To have a blemish-free record is absolutely amazing, and I fully support naming the courthouse after Harvey.
Thank you, sir. Marna Dellerson, followed by Lena Amazon and Gabriela Lorenzo. Bonnie Riley.
Hi. My name is Gabriela Lorenzo, 5410 Southwest 95th Court. I'm speaking on behalf of a letter written by Anna Marie Gomez. Please consider this brief statement in support of the friendly amendment to the new Miami-Dade County Civil and Probate Courthouse, the Osvaldo Soto Miami-Dade Justice Center. As a past president of the Cuban American Bar Association, I am intimately familiar with Mr. Soto and his great contributions to both the legal community and community at large. He has done so much to champion all minorities in this great melting pot that is Miami-Dade County, and naming the new courthouse after him will not only serve as a testament to his vast legacy, but will also engender hope and the pride in the Cuban American community as the first courthouse in South Florida named after a Hispanic individual. For all the reasons more fully detailed in CABA's October 11, 2024 letter, and as my friends and colleagues have voiced at today's meetings, I respectfully request that you consider bestowing this great honor on a man and family that has done much for our community and name our new courthouse Osvaldo Soto Miami-Dade.
Thank you so much, Bonnie Riley.
Bonnie Riley, 8306 Mills Drive, number 689, Miami. I just wanted to state that when I met Mr. Soto, I had absolutely no idea of all of the great accomplishments that he had made. He was just somebody who was a mentor to me, who took the time to answer questions that I had, who discussed strategies with me about cases that I had, and I later felt like I became, just like the first speaker said, a member of the Soto family. So I think that should be considered as well.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone who did not fill out a speaker card for the public hearing? So this is not for the fluoride reasonable opportunity to be heard, for the public hearing item. Is there anyone that, you ma'am? Can we give her a card? Ma'am, we'll recognize you for a minute, but can we get her a card when she's done so she can fill it out? Yep. Yeah. Go ahead and speak. If you give your name and address for the record, and then afterwards, if you could fill out a card, please.
My name is Allison Cohen. I'm a native of Miami, Florida. I live at 6815 Edgewater Drive, and I'm in support of the new courthouse to be named after Harvey Reuben, who did so much for this community over 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So public hearing is now closed. And if I can get a motion to move all the public hearing items except for 1G3, and we can discuss 1G3.
So moved.
First and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
We might need a roll call, right?
Do we need a roll call for this? All right, let's do a roll call quickly, please.
Commissioner Bastian? Yes. Commissioner Hardeman? Commissioner Higgins?
Yes.
Chairman Gonzalez?
4.
Motion passes unanimously.
To the attorney, can we take up 1G3?
And Mr.
You are recognized.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you very much on 1G3. I want to give you all, you probably think my item is a little strange, and I want to tell you how we got here. In the board's rules of procedures, we have 2 rules that are in conflict with each other. So one rule says that a building in a district's commissioner, only the district commissioner can bring forth an item to name that building. Another one is all about our holds. So there are a number of commissioners that have a hold on the naming of this courthouse, which we're now calling the Justice Center. So I'm actually not able to bring an item that recommends naming it because you all, I know Commissioner Regalado, but I think Commissioner Cabrera, there's a bunch of commissioners that have a hold on naming this. And so I've never been able to bring the item, but you all can't bring the item because the rule is in conflict. So what I did today is I brought an item that's ancillary so that we could get everybody in the room to make their voices heard and tell us about the 2 most amazing individuals that we've had in our community because, you know, as Elaine said, it's too bad we have to choose. And how I would say it is, isn't it lucky that we have individuals like Mr. Reuben and Mr. Soto in our community, which makes this kind of choice difficult, but also is bringing deep meaning to our community. So this item I have not been able to say this. So there's a couple things. I wanted to get something, and the chairman was nice enough, Chairman Rodriguez, to at least put something so we can begin discussing this and modify it. Should we decide to do something different, and I have some suggestions to modify my own item, we would probably at the full board have to agree to waive the rules, or else you all have to drop all your holds, even those people that aren't here, so that I could advance an item. So we're in this trapped, I'm sorry, all you judges, but you're all lawyers, so I presume you can figure out we've got 2 competing rules and there's no way to win. So I brought this item that sort of opens the conversation. Here are my thoughts, and you know, and if you wish, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to make these as amendments to this item now that we're in the sunshine, you know, with all these conflicting holds. It is my personal belief that despite the great contributions of both of these 2 men, that we absolutely must have an important public building named after Hispanic and in honor of the Cuban community that has really built Miami into what it is. And doesn't mean that we don't have all kinds of other contributing members to communities. So it would be my personal preference that we dedicate the Justice Center, as it's now called. You all keep calling it the courthouse, but don't forget, you asked me to rename it the Justice Center because it's going to do more than just courting. But it is my suggestion that we do dedicate this to Mr. Soto. The second thing I would do to modify this item is I would direct the Chief Judge, and I can see that Judge Safey's had to leave, but I presume she'd be okay with this, or somebody could nod, that we direct the Chief Judge to come up with a plan to appropriately honor Harvey Reuven. My hope would be you would come up with a building that is worthy of his name, in my mind, something that also he's such a nature lover, an environmental lover. But I also would like to ask you to make sure there is a place of honor for him inside this new Justice Center. And so whether that becomes the Harvey Reuven Memorial Lobby or something like that, we are forced to make a choice that's very difficult. But in this case, we are missing a building in our community that's named for a Cuban-American legend, and we need one. And then Judge Soto, quite frankly, I don't think we'd have this court set. So it's funny that it's actually his daughter that did all the legwork, and you and I remember very well as we were trying to get this item across the finish line to begin to have the groundbreaking. And number 3, as you can tell, the item I did bring, which I was able to bring because it's not conflicting hold, says, let's think about how do we honor other individuals through all the individual courtrooms. And I would also ask the Chief Judge to come up with a process with the team to think about how all those other courthouses can be reflective of the diverse community we have here. And then when people are in there, they get to learn about our history. I don't know, I think every single one of us here learned something new about Osvaldo Soto today and something new about Harvey Reuven today. And I do think you can use these other courtrooms to honor other individuals. So people that work there, serve there as jurors, pass through, get to learn about all of the people that have made an important difference. So I'm happy to modify my item to do those 3 things. I am not sure if it's legal because we still have all these other people with hold. So if you would drop your hold, at least I'd have one person out of my way. But I have a few others I have to push aside. But maybe there's a way we could do this with recommending we waive the hold rule when this gets to the full board. And Mr. Chairman, I ask for your guidance.
Absolutely, and you know I have to agree with you wholeheartedly, you know, and I assume that that's a difficult position to be in, right? But first off, I want to thank all the speakers that came out. You know, Harvey Reuven is a giant amongst all of us, right? I can remember growing up in this county and just knowing who Harvey Reuven was. I didn't know what a clerk of courts did, but I knew that that was my clerk of courts. And as I went to law school, just hearing about him and hearing about his legacy was just such an incredible man and such a great career. I also want to acknowledge all the folks that came out for Osvaldo Soto. You see, as an attorney myself, I have a deep appreciation for the dedication and commitment it takes to uphold the principles of justice. And Osvaldo embodied these principles throughout his distinguished 50-year legal career. He was a champion of justice, a founder and leader in the legal community, and he worked tirelessly to expand and access the justice system for all of us. So, you know, you have this great giant Harvey, you have this great giant Osvaldo. I couldn't agree with you more, Commissioner Higgins. And I'm going to look at the attorneys. Is there a way that we can possibly modify that motion? And then I would even be bold enough to say maybe we can ask the chairman of the board to waive it out of committee to go to the next BCC.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So with respect to the proposal to rename the courthouse itself or the Justice Center now after Osvaldo Soto, that amendment would be outside the scope of this particular item as advertised as a public hearing. However, if that is the will of this body, a motion could be made to direct the county attorney to prepare an item.
So moved by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by...
Well, I think that would require a 2/3 vote
2/3 vote, yeah.
And you remember how difficult it was for us to name a happy street. I think they got the joke. But if that's what you want to do, then I'll second it. But I also have some comments that I want to get another.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we take that vote, if I can just recognize Commissioner Hardman, followed by Commissioner Bastian.
Thank you. First, I don't think that we name, in my personal opinion, I don't think that we name, if we name a building after a person, if there was a competing person, I don't think you name a lobby or some room there after that competing person. I don't think people are not going to be happy either way, because there are winners and losers in how this is how the reality of it is. But if you then put both names, it's a reminder of that every single day, right? Some places that we have, for instance, you have a courthouse like the Lawson E. Thomas building. When you walk into the Lawson E. Thomas building, the predominant picture that you see there is not Lawson E. Thomas. And so I believe it leads to confusion, because if you don't know Lawson E. Thomas, and most of us today, especially young lawyers, we're not, and especially the general population, they don't identify with the person because they didn't know the person. And so these things happen. The other thing about so I just believe that we should, if we're going to name the courthouse, we name the courthouse, we make a decision about that, and we move on. The second thing is that I don't know if naming individual courtrooms really is a smart thing to do either. And the reason I say that is because I'm in courtrooms every day. And for instance, when you walk into a courthouse, what you realize is that the predominant number of people who are utilizing the courthouse, they don't come to court often. So when you get a subpoena to be there at a certain time, you're under a pressure. You know that, especially in a criminal courthouse or even a civil, there's a lot of pressure that either a defendant or respondent has. And so you're confused because, say, for instance, I'm looking for Judge Wolfson's courtroom. And they say, okay, well, go on the 4th floor. Judge Wolfson's courtroom is XYZ. And then when you get to the courtroom, you look up and it says Judge Lawson E. Thomas, right? And maybe to the small right, there's a little sign that says, I just think it leads to confusion. So I think it's very clean if we don't name the courtrooms, particularly after judges, because or predominant figures, because I think when you're looking for a certain judge's courtroom, you only expect to see one name. And so I think that helps. If you can name floors after people and things of that nature, but I think maybe the courtrooms may be a little bit more problematic. So, however this board decides to move forward, I mean, we can make a decision today about naming a particular person through another piece of legislation if you choose to. But I just want to avoid confusion with everything in every way in which we do this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't disagree. Commissioner Bastian, would you like to be recognized? Go ahead.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you. I'm not a member of this committee, but I'm happy to
Drop your hold.
I'm happy to relinquish my hold, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. I know that procedurally these things get a little difficult, and that's why I came and I sat here just in case there was an issue. I'm happy to oblige, and it's always wonderful to have our legal community come out and speak on important matters. I grew up in a Cuban radio station before my father was elected, and I thought that Osvaldo Soto was an elected official. I was really under the impression that he was elected. He was always there for problem solving. Growing up in a radio station, people called in for pim pam pums, and because they needed somewhere to live, and because they needed a ride, and because they needed legal help. And Bertie's dad was always there. I remember English only. I remember how devastating that was to our community. Roland Sanchez Medina mentioned the bumper sticker. When I saw that bumper sticker, I cried. Because as a child growing up in Miami, the idea of someone taking our flag was heartbreaking. My grandmother didn't speak English. I'm an English learner. And the thought of English only really rocked us to our foundation. Osvaldo Soto was there front and center when we did Vota Pa Que Te Respeten, when all the radio stations band together to register Cubans to vote and to create what became the Cuban bloc of voting. So I would just say, I think I love Harvey Rubin. I've known him my entire life also. I'm happy to have a discussion about how we can honor him. I have EO property, we have other buildings, and I think that what he did for our community was amazing. But I as a Cuban American woman, would not be sitting in this seat but for Osvaldo Soto. And I recognize that. I recognize what he did for our community, what Salad did for Cuban Americans, and how we are able to have the representation that we have today because of the difficult fights that he fought for us, the generation that he was fighting for. So I'm here to support whatever I can do to help. I think procedurally, we could direct the attorneys to bring an item. We already had the public hearing, and then we can just take it up at the BCC next week. I think that's the cleanest way to do it, and that would be my recommendation. So thank you.
So I'm not gonna lie. I agree with Keon, with Commissioner Hardiman, in the sense that I'm in court all the time, and I think that there could be some confusion with courthouses. But aside from that, I will say that my preference would be to agree with Commissioner Higgins that the courthouse should be named after Osvaldo Soto. But I think a building should be named after Harvey Rubin, not a courthouse or not a courtroom or a floor. That's just my personal opinion, but it is your preference. This is your item, so I will look at you.
So here, based on listening to all of you, here's what I think we should do. I think we should make a motion today, and you would ask Chairman Rodriguez if we could advance this to next week's meeting to name the Justice Center after Osvaldo Soto. I think we leave that separately. I know Judge Safey's not here, but Judge Soto, you and I can get together and let's brainstorm about what other ways we can honor Harvey, because Harvey must be honored, right? I mean, that is one of my takeaways. We have two people that matter deeply to our history and to our community, to our sense of justice, to our sense of the environment, to our sense of community, and we've got to do it. And so we need to come up with another alternative. Mrs. Rubin, you need to be involved in those discussions because you may prefer a beautiful park, given Harvey's commitment to the environment. So I would suggest we do that. Given I have never been arrested nor in a courtroom because I guess I've never been in trouble, I have to take the advice of the two people that are in courtrooms, my chairman, the chairman, and then also Commissioner Hardiman. So perhaps what I should do is withdraw this item that has the individual items. I don't think we need a vote on that. And then what I would say, is nobody place a hold on naming anything for Harvey Rubin, because whatever the place is that's decided, the only person that can bring that is the commissioner of that district. So let's not put ourselves in this crazy quagmire twice. All right, so I don't know, is that amenable to you, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, absolutely. Commissioner Bastian?
Thank you so much. Someone indicated that we had a difficult choice between two powerful giants. I believe that we are lucky and blessed to have two powerful giants who contributed so much to our community. I spent a great deal of time last night to go over their lives, the history of their lives. I laughed and smiled when I read about the late Osvaldo Soto, how in fighting against the English language policy, he decided to start courting and marry people, how over the course of his years, he's defied the status quo to fight for what he believes is right. How he opened CABA to make sure that other non-Hispanic lawyers participate. So I was really smiling and cracking up because I see him as someone who has the courage to stand up, not only for what he believed in, but the courage to stand up for what others did not believe in at the time. And that took courage. So I join my colleagues. I will support my colleague in their endeavor to name the courtroom after him. However, I also delved through the life of Harvey Reuven. 50 years of commitment, 50 years of making changes in our county to make sure that we operate at a level that can compete with other counties. As the president of NACO, 50 years of hard work to make sure that our environment is protected, that our rare species are protected. And I also believe that he deserves not any building. He deserves that we work together collectively to find a courtroom to name after him. So that's my position. I know that I agree with you, Commissioner Hardeman. Initially, I thought that maybe it would be a good thing. We have two towering giants. Maybe we could name the courtroom after both of them. But I understand that the confusion that it may take, and then the confusion that it may take to even name courtrooms after him, and I do believe that he deserves better. So I hope that we can find a way to honor Harvey Reuven the way he deserves, because I believe that he gave 50 years of his life for this community, and he deserves that we recognize him in a big, big way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So I believe that for purposes of the rules, I believe 1G3 needs to be withdrawn, and then I believe Commissioner Higgins is making a new motion, and we're looking to you guys for guidance.
So
Is that right, Commissioner Higgins?
I believe so. I think the consensus up here is to not name the individual courtrooms, right?
Yes.
And you all have more experiences in courthouses than I do, so there you go. Which is my goal, no offense to all of you, to never be inside one. So it means something's run amok.
May I, Chair?
Yes.
Yes, I wonder, unless the family doesn't, if the family doesn't have any issues.
Well, here's what I was going to suggest in this motion. One, we name the Justice Center, right? We dedicate it to Osvaldo Soto. But the second part of that motion would be directing the mayor or her designee to work with the chief judge to find whether it's a facility, a building that is appropriate to be named for Harvey, given his deep contributions to the county, and come back with some ideas within whatever, 60 days, 90 days, something like that. That would be my motion.
Thank you. And I think you have to withdraw 1G3, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And just to clarify, so the motion by the body would be to direct the county attorney to prepare an item for next week's, the March 18th commission meeting, renaming the Justice Center after Osvaldo Soto, and then also directing the county mayor to coordinate with the chief judge to recommend a suitable county facility for naming after Harvey Reuven.
Yes, I believe that is the will of the board.
And to come back within 90 days for a recommendation.
Yes.
But, Mr. Chair, don't you need a vote to first?
Yeah. I think we're figuring it out procedurally first. Commissioner Hardeman, would you like to be recognized?
Yes, just really quickly, at least for this motion to ensure that the administration works with whatever district commissioner where she recommends.
Yes.
That should be named.
And in addition, Mr. Chair, there are other commissioners who are not present that do have prior holds on naming the courthouse after Osvaldo Soto. So this item to come for next week would include the waiver of the hold rule.
Yes.
And call them up and ask them to drop their holds.
Yes, you folks can talk to them, we cannot. Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
You should tell the judges who they are.
I know,
And the
I'm
judges
not
will
at
call.
liberty to disclose that information.
Do we have a second? Second. Do we need a voice vote for this?
That's fine.
Okay, so let's do it.
Commissioner Hardeman? Commissioner Higgins? Commissioner Bastian? Chairman Gonzalez?
4.
Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. So we are done with the public hearing items. Now we're going to go back to reasonable opportunity to be heard. So if I could get Maria Magdalena Estupirtan for 1 minute and Scott Killey for 1 minute, Joshua Gemmitt for 1 minute. If you can give your name and address for the record. Maria Magdalena, Scott Killey, Joshua Gemmitt.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, are you opening reasonable opportunity on the balance of the agenda?
Yes. So reasonable opportunity is now open. If I can get Scott Killey. And if we can give Mr. Killey a minute to speak. If you could give your name and address for the record, Mr. Killey.
My name is Scott Kiley. I am a resident in Marco Island, Florida, 1450 Cutler Court. I'm here to speak for the removal and for the ending of water fluoridation. I'm also with Stand for Health Freedom. In Collier County, we
I'm sorry,
removed.
can we pause this time? Can we pause this time, please? Folks, can you please keep it down on your way out? We have folks speaking. They showed the utmost respect when all of you spoke. Please give this man respect as he speaks. Thank you. Can we put a minute back on? Mr. Kali, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. In Collier County, we ended water fluoridation in Collier County with a vote of 5-0. This was back in February. We then moved on to the city of Naples, where we ended water fluoridation with a vote of 5-2. We moved on to the city of Immokalee, where we ended with a vote of 7-0. We then moved on to Lee County, and we ended water fluoridation with a vote of 5-0 as well. In the state of Florida, we have worked diligently to end water fluoridation. 19 city counties since Dr. Ladapo's recommendation to end fluoridation, 19 cities and counties. 14 of those were unanimous decisions. Now, the common thread is the citizens want informed consent. They want choice. They don't want a forced medication. Commissioners, I urge you, please protect your pregnant women, your newborn children, your unborn children in utero, and your young toddlers. They're the most vulnerable. End fluoridation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Killey. Joshua Gemes and Maria Magdalena Estupitan.
Good afternoon. My name is Josh Jemmy. I guess you want the address too, right? So
Yes.
16750 Northeast 10th Avenue, Miami. I wrote a whole thing, but I'm not even going to read that because I sat here and I listened to everyone. Thank you for having this here. What comes to mind is that I feel like a lot of the conversation is trying to get into the weeds of the science and the this and the that, and not everybody is on that level. I think it's very basic. I think it's very simple. Do we have the freedom to choose? Do I have the choice to have clean water or not? And by the fluorosilicic acid being dumped into the water supply, I don't have a way to opt out, and neither does anyone else. I think given the trend of what we're seeing and the science that's coming forward now, right? We had a great panel here. There were 72 studies that they looked over, and they've come to the determination that there is a risk. And if there's a risk, then the safety committee should be concerned about the safety. So that's my standpoint, is that there should be a choice.
Thank you so much. Jay Colligan, followed by Jill Kiley. And then we got Richard Schroeder, followed by Hudson Pizzas.
Stakeholder Jay Colligan, 34112 I'm with Stand for Health Freedom. What are your thoughts on adding medications like Prozac for the depressed, or maybe some statins, blood thinners, and high blood pressure medications to the public water, given that cardiovascular diseases are the leading cause of death worldwide? This suggestion warrants serious ethical consideration. However, it would require informed consent from the public. Moreover, the debate surrounding fluoride raises similar concerns about individual autonomy. People should have the right to choose what goes in their bodies, whether they ingest or other means, rather than having decisions imposed by local government officials. Ultimately, this issue highlights the importance of informed consent, as introducing known neurotoxins into the water supply poses severe risk. While dentists can treat a cavity,
thank you so much. Jill
they
Kiley.
cause
I'm sorry, sir, your time. Jill Kiley.
Yes, good morning, or good afternoon already. Jill Kiley, 1450 Color Court, Marco Island, Florida. Currently, this council is doing what no doctor is allowed to do, forcing people to take a medication without their consent. From a policy point of view, is it appropriate to be delivering fluoride to everyone's water, including mothers who are pregnant, mothers who have newborns, who are feeding formula to their babies, using fluoridated water? Shouldn't the water supply be safe, not just for some of the people, not even for most of the people? Shouldn't the public water supply be safe for everybody to drink? Freedom is the foundational element of why we all live here in the United States of America. And where there is risk of harm, we should allow the people to decide what they put in their own bodies. Water should hydrate, not medicate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Richard Schroeder, followed by Hudson Passas.
Dr. Richard Schroeder, Naples, 3418 Snowy Owl, Naples, Florida, 34120. As a former obstetrician, I can think of no better reason to remove fluoride from the drinking water than to protect the unborn babies from the high concentrations of this toxic substance that can occur in the intrauterine environment. Clearly shown now to reduce the IQs of children, it can also hurt us throughout life by displacing calcium from bone, increasing our risk of fracture, and later in life, leaching into the bloodstream to the brain, where it is suspected of contributing to Alzheimer's and other types of dementias. The fluoride we get in water is an industrial waste, fluorosilicic acid, which was sold to a gullible humanity by clever industry propagandists as a tooth decay preventive. Even if this were true, it has so many other deleterious effects upon the human body that this substance should never have been allowed to be dumped in our public water supply.
Thank you, Hudson Passas, followed by Lily Passas.
My name's Hudson. FAF 14170 Southwest 37 Court. I believe fluoride in our water is very bad for us. As January 9th, 2025, at least 36 counties in fluoride have removed fluoride from their water due to safety concerns. Why haven't we removed it from ours? Let's make Florida healthy again and end fluoride in our water.
Great job, Hudson. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Now, if you are under the age of 18, you do not have to give your address, okay? Lily Pizzaz, followed by Angel Padilla and Isabella Belriso.
Hi, my name is Lily, and today I want to talk to you about fluoride in our water. I believe adding fluoride in our water is unnecessary. I looked it up, and according to the New Jersey Department of Health, fluoride can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and even death. The National Institute of Health stated individual fluoride status is not assessed, meaning we don't know how much fluoride in each person is exposed to. A 2012 Harvard study showed that even slight amounts of fluoride exposure can be toxic to the brain. Professor of Environmental Health Philippi Strange from Harvard also said fluoride seems to fit with lead, mercury, and other poisons that cause brain drain.
Thank you so much, Lily. You did a wonderful job. Can I get Angel Padilla, followed by Isabella Belviso and Mariana Belviso?
Hello, my name is Angel Padilla. Good afternoon. Thank you for this time to ask that we have a choice to have water free from fluoride. It is a medication that is added to everyone's water. Please allow me to have a choice to not take medicine when drinking water from the faucet. Thank you for your attention and the opportunity to have free, clean water to drink.
Thank you so much. Great job. Isabella Belviso, followed by Mariana Belviso and Mackenzie Van Orden.
Hi, my name is Isabella Belviso. I believe fluoride should not be in our drinking water because there are dangerous chemicals. When our water is fluoridated, according to the New Jersey Department of Health, silicofluoric acid can affect you when inhaled. Contact can severely irritate and burn the skin and eyes. They also stated that when working with sodium fluorosilicate, which is another chemical used to fluoridate the water, employers should avoid skin contact to protect clothing such as suits, gloves, and headgear, but yet they say it is okay to drink the water and shower in it. I do not give consent to put this in my body.
Thank you so much. Mariana Belviso, followed by Mackenzie Van Orden, followed by Tristan Maciejo.
Hi, my name is Mariana Belviso, and I think fluoride is bad for us. The chemicals that are used to fluoridate the water are all listed as hazardous chemicals under the New Jersey Department of Health. I do not want to put this in my body.
Thank you so much. Mackenzie Van Orden, followed by Tristan Maciejo, followed by Harper Smith.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Van Orden. Fluoride is in our bathwater, drinks, and in water that infants use in their formula. The FDA admitted the FDA has not conducted or sponsored independent research concerning the risk of neurotoxicity associated with any internal scientific evidence concerning this topic. How come they can test our food but not our water? This is why I believe fluoride is bad and should not be in our water.
Thank you so much. Tristan Maciejo, followed by Harper Smith, followed by Roger Terone.
Hi, my name is Tristan Maciel. I believe fluoride is toxic in our water. According to the New Jersey Department of Health, silicofluoric acid may react with water and moist air to form toxic and flammable gases. It is a hazardous substance, and they want to puts it in our water. Now you see why I believe fluoride shouldn't be in our water.
Thank you so much, Tristan. Harper Smith, followed by Roger Tyrone, followed by Bruce Stanley.
Hello, my name is Harper Smith, and I believe putting fluoride in our water is unnecessary. In September 2024, the United States District Court, Northern District of California, concluded that, in all, there is a substantial and scientifically credible evidence establishing that fluoride poses a risk to human health. It is associated with a reduction in the IQ of children and is hazardous at doses that are far too close to fluoride levels in drinking water of the United States. Why are city governments still putting this in our water if the court in California said it's not safe? That's why I believe fluoride should not be in our water.
Thank you so much. Roger Tyrone, followed by Bruce Stanley, followed by Henry Zarb.
Roger Tyrone, 14005 Southwest 72nd Court, Palmetto Bay. I am against removing fluoride from the water system. Latest legitimate studies are mixed, and including the study that was cited or referenced in the Miami Herald article yesterday, which indicated, recommended more study. So this is not settled science by a long shot. It was unfortunate, I think, that the commission only heard from panelists who have a specific perspective on the use of fluoride. It would have been much better, I think, today to have invited qualified professionals, and there are many, who have an opposing viewpoint, and I would recommend that the commission do that so that you can get a full perspective before it votes.
Bruce Stanley, followed by Henry Zarb, followed by Jeb Hanwerger.
Good afternoon. Bruce Stanley, 206 Northwest 34th Street. Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez, for chairing this meeting. What brings us here today is the ruling of a federal court, which concluded after a 7-year study that fluoride was a neurotoxin that had detrimental health effects, particularly on children's IQ, even in small amounts. This conclusion was based on studies that had previously been referenced by activists and community groups warning about this issue, but they were dismissed as conspiracy theorists. As we heard earlier, that ruling was followed by a recommendation from Surgeon General Ladapo for municipalities around the state to end the fluoridation of water supplies, calling it a form of medical malpractice. Contrary to popular belief, the fluoride that's getting added to the water supply is not the naturally occurring mineral, which is often how it's described in news reports, but it's actually hydrofluorosilicic acid, which has a skull and crossbones on the package and is capable of eating through steel and concrete. It's an industrial byproduct that's very difficult to dispose of, and those companies have found a clever way to get rid of it by selling it to local governments. But regardless of how one feels about fluoride,
Thank you so much. Henry Zarb, and finally is Jeb Hadwerger. Henry Zarb going once, going twice. Jeb Hardwerger.
Hello, my name's Jeb Hanwerger, 1091 Northeast 166th Street, 33162. Been a resident in Miami-Dade County for over 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen of the County Commission, as a dad of a special needs child and an expecting parent, and as an advocate for families like mine with special needs children, I'm deeply concerned about the fluoridation of our water supply. Recent studies, including those referenced by health experts today, suggest fluoride may act as a neurotoxin, harming our children's cognitive development and overall health risks that are especially alarming for special needs children, where the populations are growing exponentially. They may be more vulnerable. As parents, we have the fundamental right to make decisions about what's best for our families. Fluoridating our water feels like forced medication, stripping away our parental rights. This week's a holiday of Purim, the book of Esther, as Commissioner Gonzalez quoted in the past. If you remain silent this time, relief and deliverance will arise. Who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? I believe we are at a critical moment to protect our children and our families and uphold our freedom to choose.
Thank you so much. And with that, thank you so much to everybody that came out to speak. Really appreciate all of you. This is what having your voice heard looks like. And with that, I think we need to move the rest of the agenda. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then we can adjourn?
Mr.
Wait,
Chair.
Mr. Chair, a couple of things.
I'm sorry, just one question for clarification. On the committee-sponsored item for next week's commission meeting regarding the courthouse, the committee would need to designate a contact person for purposes of transmitting the item?
So I think it should be Commissioner Higgins. I think we said that.
Okay. Noted. Thank you.
And with that, I think I need a motion to move the rest of the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we just wanted to make sure that you still have quorum.
Yeah, can we? Can you figure out if we have quorum?
You need Hardeman or Higgins. They're going.
So is Commissioner Higgins or Hardeman here?
They're getting them. Hardeman's on the next committee, so. There's Higgins. Spotted. Spotted.
Oh, we did? Are you sure? I don't think we did.
Mr. Chair, you were, the balance of the agenda?
Okay, so if I can get a motion to balance the rest of the agenda.
Happy to do so.
So moved, second by Commissioner Bastian. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, and a motion to adjourn. So moved, second by Commissioner Higgins. All in favor, signify by saying aye. That was a long meeting, but it was good. Thank you.
Among the 50 states in passage rates for both practical nurses and registered nurses. In fact, we rank 52nd out of 54 jurisdictions for PNs and 52nd out of 55 for RNs.
Why are our rates so low? Is it professors aren't being paid adequately? Do we have a brain drain and all of the great minds aren't here? Are the students not getting enough clinicals? I don't know the answer, but I really would like to hear more of the why.
The committee invited a panel of nurses, educators, and administrators to answer questions.
Our data in our report, most recently published, does show that our nursing education programs are reporting there still is